The meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Just for people via Zoom, we have Councillor Norbury joining us on Zoom as well. So welcome, Councillor Norbury, to the meeting. Okay, at this time, I'm going to go to Ms. Torval. If you could please introduce the budget specialist and maybe a quick overview of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, we had a little hiccup with our budgeting process this year and with our CFO being away on leave. And we were able to get a budget specialist in, and I'm pleased to introduce to you tonight Mr. Michael McPhail. Mr. McPhail is very well acquainted in the finance departments, and he's been a CFO in a municipality not too far from Tumler Ridge, so he is very familiar with the area and the region, which is a plus for us tonight. And so I'm just going to say that staff has prepared a budget here for you tonight for capital and special projects, and they're ready to present whenever and however that may happen tonight, whatever the mayor decides how this is going to happen and come forward. So I'm just going to maybe pass it back to the mayor or Mr. McPhail. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Mr. McPhail, and yeah, we can go from there.
Wow, I've never spoken into a microphone before for a meeting. There we go. So thank you to the staff first. They've been very welcoming and very understanding for my questions and stuff, and very cooperative. And I like to thank Dustin for all his hard work. It would be, for what we've got accomplished to date, is a great deal because of his help. So, and everybody's been wonderfully cooperative and so on. So I'll just give a brief overview just of the dollars and stuff. And as I understand it, I just wanted to keep a process that you guys are familiar with. And if I depart from that, it's not by intention. It's so you can correct me if I have the wrong process. So first off, on the carryovers this year, you're looking at capital projects that are carried over for just under $5 million, just over $4.8 million. In capital and special projects, you're looking at about $5.5 million. I always forget the other thousands, or not forget, but I just won't do it. And that's on the Schedule 2. And what staff has done is the one, I'm on Schedule 2 here. The ones in red are the high priority, as it says, and then the yellow ones are less, and then the green ones are the fall down. And that's the total of just over $5.5 million, which is funded by PRA funding of $1,768,000, with grant monies that have been put into the budget of $780,000, and transfer from reserves, which is both building and equipment, of $2,392,000 and change. Of the total in this report, the total funding of the capital budget is, right now, as it is put out, is just under $580,000. That's funded by tax increases or taxes, depending how the taxes turn out this year. And on that note, I just wanted to let people know we haven't got, all we've done in the process so far is for the capital process. I got here yesterday and we started working on the operating, and then just working through that. So if you're asking me about possible tax increases or the impact on tax this year, I'm sorry, I won't. I don't have the numbers yet. So in March 27th, I believe, that's when we'll start doing that process, I hope. Any questions?
Council? Nope, we're good. Well, thank you very much for introducing Mike and stuff. And Mike, welcome to the community. And Thank you very much from the mayor and council side there for coming in and helping and moving the budget forward. So we appreciate the help, and obviously you heard from yourself and Ms. Torval. Staff is definitely going to be here and is here and ready and prepared to answer questions in regards to the budgets that they're putting forward. So I will mention it one more time in regards to items that could be going out for RFP tenders that are in purple. Those are the only numbers that we ask that we don't mention. In the gallery agendas, they're marked as X's, I believe, and online they were marked as X's. And the reason that is so that we have a fair tendering process if these get sent out. So just want to be open about that. So we'll move on. 3.1, 2024 capital and special project list for review. Report dated March 12, 2024 from the budget specialist regarding capital and special project list for review. Take the recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That council receives the draft 2024 capital budget for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Any discussion? All in favor? Carries. So I think the process we should use is just start off at the top at number 1, which is project number 1. If anybody from council, and Chris, if I miss your hand up, just feel free to speak out, and then we can get you into the lineup if I miss your hand. But yeah, I think we'll just start at the top. People have any questions or concerns with that item, and then we'll move on from there. So the first one is under Protective Services, Public Safety, is the Fire Smart Community Program for $200,000, which is a grant. And that was supported by a resolution of council at a previous meeting. Does anybody from council have questions? Councilor Norbury. Or sorry, Councillor Noxana. I was looking at Councillor Norbury just a minute ago. Sorry, my apologies.
Thank you. I was just wondering if we've heard back about the grant.
Ms. Torval.
I will.
Certainly. Mayor and council, so have received back from our program officer. They've asked for some clarification on a few things of why we had a bit higher wages included in some of the program activities that we had proposed. So we're in the process of providing them with that information, and then they're going to make a determination.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council on that? Okay, moving on to number 2, under Public Works. It'll be the Industrial Park Lagoon, removal of overgrown vegetation, cattails, in quotations. Anything from council on that? Okay, moving on to number 3, under Public Works, and that's the water treatment plant assessment to assess the condition of the DTR infrastructure. Any questions from council? Councillor Julik.
So I see the last time we had extensive work done was 2014, so I think I should just stop talking. I'm assuming we haven't had it assessed since 2014.
Yeah, I'm going to go to staff because I actually asked this question earlier when the last assessment was completed. I know they did a very big upgrade/overhaul within the water treatment facility. Now, whether there was an assessment done before that work, I'm not sure. Ms. Torval?
I will defer to Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that's correct. 2014 was the last time that there was any work done in the water treatment facility. So this year being 10-year mark, I'd like to know where the condition of our plant is.
I guess just back to staff. Was there assessment done pre-2014 when the work was done there?
That I'm not certain of.
Enough. Mr. Earl, I got a question for you. How would you like to run this? You're good with me going to you and you'll direct whoever you prefer to answer?
Yes, whatever is going to make it flow and, yeah, for sure.
It's up to you. Okay, that's how we'll do it. Any other questions in regards to that? Okay. Sorry, small printing, my poor eyeballs are going to get pretty sore here. Number 4 is under community services, and that's the 25 kilowatt switch for, I'm assuming these maybe not be online, so I'm going to, yeah, purple. Any questions in regards to that?
Yeah.
Councilor Clickash?
This has never been replaced, I guess. And I'm just wondering what condition it's in now? Why do they determine that they want to buy it now?
Ms. Torval?
I will ask Mr. Bento to respond to that, please.
Mayor and Council, yes, that is correct. It has not been replaced before. The reason we put in the list is showing overheating signs. So there's a little bit of concern there. That's the reason we put it forward.
Follow-up?
No, that's a good answer.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Okay, community center, pool dehumidifier, again in purple. Any questions? Okay. Number 7, Public Works, backflash valve replacement, refurbishment. Any questions from council? Okay, moving on to number 8, water treatment isolation valve replacement, replace 3 valves. Any questions from council? Councillor Hoffman?
Just a quick question. How big are these valves? Are these 4-inch or 14? Yeah, okay, never mind.
Ms. Torval? So I'm going to mention it right here. We will not look at staff for questions, direct question to myself. I'll go to staff. Staff will use whoever they wish. Ms. Torval?
Mr. Bradley?
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, they're 14-inch.
Thank you. Another reason we do that is just so everybody can hear on Zoom, because if we don't have, if staff doesn't have a mic, when they answer, Zoom won't pick it up. Any other questions in regards to that? Protected services, replacement of lifting bags, auto extrication tools, exceeding life expectancy. Any questions from council? Okay, moving on to the community service arena, refrigeration plant compressor 2 times rebuilds. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I'm just wondering does this affect the work that was just done? There was a bunch of work done specifically on, I thought, refrigeration, but maybe it was something different?
There was a heat reclaim stuff that was done, but Ms. Torval?
Thank you. I will ask Mr. Bento.
Mayor and Council, yeah, that is correct. That was regarding the heat. This is just we need some of them to be rebuilt, right? So it is recommended to have about, we replace them every 12,000 hours, and we're just a little bit over that.
Okay, thank you.
Good. There any other questions from council? Councillor Clickash?
What kind of compressors are they?
Ms. Torval?
Council, I will ask Mr. Bento. Mr. Bento?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we're talking about so we have 4 compressors. We're talking about the plant, the refrigeration plant compressors that we're talking about. I don't have like the specific details about like the size and things like that.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Okay, moving on. Economic Development Master Plan for $200,000, but there was a grant that was applied for, so that's $130,000 for grant, and then $70,000 new capital, and they're still waiting, I believe, to hear back for the grant. Council, would you like?
So I see that there's some work listed here for 2025 as well. So we're looking at 165,000. It shows development. So so when you look at it, it says TGP development and DMF development. Of course, I have no idea what those acronyms are, but I'm wondering where we're looking. Sorry, and then I look down further. Okay, so let me start again. So 2024, we have $70,000 under taxation and then $35,000 for the consultant. And we wouldn't be looking to use 130 till next year? Can I
yeah.
just get a brief?
Yeah. Ms. Torval?
Thank you. I will defer to Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we're not 100% sure on this grant yet, not sure exactly how the funding is going to be coming. As far as I understand it, it's similar to other grants where we pay upfront and then be reimbursed for it. So by the time we find out about this, the work won't be able to be completed in 2024.
Oh, okay.
The amount between the 2 years might change, but that 130 would still be coming from Pacific Hand's Tourism Growth Program. And the TGP should actually say TMP for Trails Master Plan, and then the DMF is the Destination Management Framework.
Okay, follow up? Good. Okay, any other questions regards to Trail Master Plan? Okay. Back to number 12, Public Works, roads, paving of the community center parking lot, again in purple. Any questions from council? Councilor Noxana?
Thank you. I just want to say I'm glad this is on there. That parking lot is in poor condition, and I'm really happy when I saw the explanation part, that there'll be a better system for closer to the pool, like a turnaround type thing, I think was the note said, so really happy that it's on there.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Julik?
Yeah, I really like seeing that there's a turnaround in here. I guess what I'm wondering with the dollar amount there, does that include, is that everything? It just like with doing the revamp and what I'm thinking will be the work, pre-work, and I just am I think it's going to be a bit of a gong show this summer if we're able to get that out for RFP or whatever, but I was wondering if that's all inclusive.
Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I will ask Mr. Bradley to respond.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, I've had outside engineering come in to give us a bit of a plan for that area. You're kind of limited to what you can do as far as a turnaround per se, but we're going to try to make it so that we have closer accessible parking spots as well as a bit of a better turnaround for people dropping kids off or whoever.
Perfect.
Okay, follow up.
I'm good, thanks.
Ms. Torval, my only question there would be, and I would think staff is taking this in, I just want to get clarity on that, is in regards to a daycare standalone. We have no idea where we're at in regards to the grant that was submitted for and stuff, but that's always been a talk for, and we're talking about turnarounds and all that within the report. That area that, I won't say it's been ever set aside for specifically for the daycare, but there's an area down there that's always been discussed around the council table. Is there any effects when we do that in regards to that?
Mayor, Council, I am not sure if those were considered. I will ask Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, the space that we're going to be taking would be those 3 accessible parking spots right now, currently, cutting by to where the garbage dumpsters are located, just to kind of give you a bit more of a turnaround, I guess.
So to me, it sounds like we know that there could be possibly something there, and we're staying away from it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all, that's clarity on that one. Anything else from council? Okay, number 13, protective services, relocate and refurbish fire training grounds to meet training requirements for 2024 feasibility study. Any questions from council? Councillor Julik.
I think it's the following numbers that scare me a little bit. I actually just drove by the training grounds today, don't remember why, and I get like they're really cramped. I fully can see the problem, opportunity, and benefit outcomes. Just with the dollar amount that would come next year, I don't know that I'm ready. If we do a plan today, then what if we don't change it? Then we're doing a plan down the road. So I guess my question would be, if we did a plan, if we approved the funding for a plan this year, what kind of life does that plan have?
Okay, so we're just looking for a question on how extended life of the master plan there. Ms. Torval?
I will refer to Chief Curry.
Thank you, Ms. Torval. Mayor and Council, so the plan, the study is just to build a framework so that we can make more accurate determination for costs moving down the road. The placeholder that we currently have in the 2025 and beyond is just best guess at this point, based on other training facilities that have been built in our area in the last 5 years. The plan itself is to look at what our needs are based on current service levels that we provide, how can we best provide maybe even some partnership opportunities to mine rescue, ERT teams, oil and gas and industries. So there may be partnership opportunities that might be available down the road. But starting off with a feasibility study is really the first step so that we can determine all of the necessary things that come after that.
Okay, you're good. Any other questions from council? Okay. Public Works Roads, Southgate parking lot replacement, asphalt surface, again in purple. Any questions from council? Councillor Julik?
Okay, I know I said we were going to be fast. So is the idea for this to be in tandem with the community center parking lot down, like the one we talked about earlier? I'm just wondering, like having it in tandem so we're sharing the load to me. Okay, sorry, I'm reading my notes and I'm like, what did I write there? So my other question would be, I'm just a regular person who has no idea about asphalt. I look at that lot and I feel like it looks okay. So I guess I was just wanting to get some ideas as to where the deterioration is, what the concerns are around there. If the idea is this year we're going to do it because if we approve the community center lot, that we do this at the same time to share some of those costs?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, staff can speak to it, but I've asked the question, and that's the concept is, when we bring a company in to do asphalt, we give the sections that, to me, staff has went out and done their observations and stuff like that, so they would be done in tandem. Probably rip it out and then come back to pave it. But when you talk in regards to what assessment have they done, I know we have an asphalt replacement policy and plan, but Ms. Torval?
I will refer to Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, we did an assessment on the roads. We do have quite a few roadways that are requiring some attention. The Southgate parking lot is in real need of attention as well. The entrances in particular. And now that we have a new charging station and the visitor information or interpreter center, there's some CB work that needs to be done and road work around them, so.
Follow up.
I guess the other thing I was thinking about, and really, like, I guess in the long scheme of things, I would rather save some money than to disturb all the local parking, but that is what I see, that it could be an absolute nightmare for parking this summer, but we do have some other areas, and I guess I'm just going to stop talking now.
So I know that is a concern. So I know previously when we did asphalt within the community, including parking lot, they came in and did their removal and didn't lace asphalt right behind it, so there was a bit of a delay there. So once it's removed, they opened up the parking lots. So I imagine that would be the same at the community center and Southgate, but staff can answer that if they want. Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council. Mr. Bradley, if you can confirm.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. No, I'm sorry, I do not have that answer for you at this time.
Good enough. Thank you. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I hate to bring up the S word, but sidewalks. Are we very sure that we own this entire parking lot? It's not shared with any of the businesses located around it?
It's a district-owned
It is
asset.
fully, okay.
Yeah, I mean, staff can confirm, but it is 100% owned by the district, Tunbridge. Ms. Torval?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So I guess my questions are, and again, I've reached out, but again, I'd like the answer in public. So it's not that I'm not going to go and assess any parking lot or any asphalt. It's not my job. But my question back to staff was, do we have any residential streets that are in the same shape or form in regards to needing asphalt? I understand parking lots are important and such, but if we can do residential streets at the same values, are we best to look at going into residential? Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will refer to Mr. Bradley on that one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, we've taken that into consideration. We've put the middle section on a repaving schedule this year. Moving forward next year, I've deferred some paving for the upper bench.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other questions from council in regards to Southgate parking lot? Okay. Moving on to number 15. Public Works, aeration tower roof replacement. Any questions from council? Okay. Moving on to number 16, corporate services, the zoning bylaw. And I believe this is the pre-approval that we've already done. So no changes that we can make on that one since we did a pre-approval at a previous meeting. Okay, so we're done the high priority. I'm going to move on to the next section. So again, Public Works, Airport, install chain link fencing at Public Works and airport facilities. Any questions from council? Councilor Jilic.
I don't know that it's a question so much. I had a meeting with Joan Zimmer with BCEHS the other day, and she noted that the fencing was important at the airport facilities. It sounds like there's a little bit of dissension on whether or not that's true. For this amount, I like the idea that we would be sharing the costs while we're doing the public. I'm assuming when it says Public Works, that it's the Public Works yard. I guess I could get comfort. Oh, I'm getting a nod. So I would like to make sure that we keep this in the budget, yes.
Yeah, and I'll just mention that. So when we talk about airport, let's get clarification on the airport, because you brought up a good one, and that's why I had the discussion with you. My understanding, this is around where we installed a new, geez, I can't even remember what they call it, but it's a pilot office, let's call it. They have to be able to call in. This has nothing to do with the runways that you may have had a discussion with Ms. Zimmer. So I believe that's what her conversation was, is they were looking at a suggestion that we should fully fence the whole airport, which is the runway. So this here is just where they installed the building, so that there's movement. But I'll just get clarification from staff, because I don't want to speak on staff's reports, but it was a question I asked, so. Ms. Torval?
Thank you. I will refer to Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that is correct. This is the fencing around the terminal building. It's been temporary fencing since the building's been installed, so we need to properly secure it. The fencing at the Public Works yard is just an extension past where the new fuel tanks are, which it's never been extended since we put the tanks in. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, moving on to number 18, Public Works Roads. Contracted line painting for Mackenzie Way, Moncton Way, Northgate, Southgate, and Pioneer Loop. Discussion from council. Councilor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm just trying to find the line item because there's also a request for a backup, number 30, a road marking painter. Is the request for both? One can't do, like the new machine can't do the work we would ask a contractor to do?
Yeah, so the machine that's on line 30, I think you said, sorry, I don't want to correct, line 30 is like, I mean, I might go to staff, but it's for doing like the parking lots and stuff. It's small line painting projects. The contractor coming in is doing the main roadways.
Okay.
So again, it comes in, they come in with a fairly big machine. I believe it's got sensors. I mean, I don't want to get into it. I'm not a staff member. So Mr. Orville, I can explain it all actually. Mr. Orville.
Thank you. I will ask Mr. Bradley, because I'm sure he's more expert at it than I am.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, the road markings is a contractor that comes in to do it. It's been years since we've had it done in the district, so we have to have somebody come in and properly mark out all the lines. And it's too big of a job for our staff.
Thank you. No, I'm in favor of it. I think it's something that's been mentioned a lot. There was 2 line painting things, so wanted to follow up.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I got myself and then Councillor Julik. Sorry, like a lot of times I forget, so I bump in here and there. I don't have a question, just have a comment. Thank you very much for staff to put this in the budget. I know when the discussion came out, and I know residents have had a lot of conversations, whether it's with council or Facebook, wherever you want to read it, but it was missed last year. So I know staff was aware of that, staff captured it, made sure, and I appreciate that's in here so that we know that we have 4 lanes on North Gate, South Gate. It makes a big difference for new residents or tourists coming into the community. So I think it's great. So thank you very much for making sure it made it into our budget. Councillor Julik.
Just so I'm understanding, we've got the line amount in 26 and 28. So this is just to let us know this is something that's going to have to happen every 2 years. This isn't something staff can, never mind, because he's already answered, the machine doesn't do the same job as what the big machines do. So this is just to let us know this is generally a 2-year project and this is how we capture it so we don't miss it in 26.
Yeah, I'll go to Ms. Torval.
Thank you. Mr. Bradley?
Oh, sorry. Normally I push you on before you do it, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That is correct. So as of now, we'll put it into the budget so that it doesn't get lost again.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, so good question. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to to number 19, Community Services, Hockey Arena Bleacher Handrails. Discussion, Councillor Noxano.
Thank you. I'm fully in support of this. I was at the figure skating carnival this weekend, which has tons of parents and grandparents going up those stands, and it's a bit scary sometimes. Watching people who aren't super well balanced, maybe, or like not super mobile. They want to watch their kid, they want to support their loved ones and their family, but there's no way to safely get them in the bleachers in some cases.
Councillor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also am glad to see this in here in the budget because I feel that's also very important for the safety of our community. So thank you.
Thank you. So I got myself and then Councillor Julik. I should have said it earlier because I was waiting to wait, but so I'm not saying I don't support it. I would say I have some concerns. My concerns are previously, so I've only been here for a short term. The arena's been built 43 years, never been installed. Now, when we installed the new heaters for in the stands, those were put down below the rafters. Previously, they were above the rafters. So what that has done is actually lowered the sight level within our arena. So I know because of that sight line being lowered, we actually had to lower the time clock so that the stands could see the time clock. So my question back to staff would be, is have we looked at how the rails are going to be installed, where they're going to be installed, on the sight levels from the seats? Because that is my concern, is when you sit in one section and a rail is there, you are going to lose that sight line. Are we going to lower the clock lower? Or how are we doing that? Mr. Orville, like that is a concern. And so I reached out because I've only been in here for 17 years. So I thought, oh, maybe these were used to be there before previous councils I sat on started adding seats and changing the way the bleachers were. We gave direction to staff and a budget, go and try different scenarios. Then I thought, geez, did we actually remove the rails when we did that? But then I found out we never had rails. So I'm just curious if staff just looked at that. And they might not be able to answer tonight, but it's just a question I would be concerned about.
Sorry, Council, we may not be able to answer tonight, but I know with the Accessible BC Act that's in force right now, we have to do everything to ensure that every one of our public places are accessible and inclusive for everyone. So with regards to if the clock will need to be lowered or not, I will ask Mr. Bento if that's been considered sightlines. So, Mr. Bento.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So we got to look into that, make sure the clock is, we can see that for sure. In terms of the railing, it's going to be about 1.5 inches, right? That's the standard size. So we're also going to look into that, see if there's no blocking. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So just my follow-up would be back to staff again, and I totally support the accessibility BC and all that. But I mean, when we talk about accessibility, we've installed an elevator within the community center to make sure we had that movement for patrons up and down. But I just hope we take the opportunity to have a really good look at this railing system first. And if it doesn't seem like it's going to work, and it's not just a view of the clock; it's actually a view of the hockey game. So that is a huge concern. So I mean, obviously, I don't go to the hockey games lots and sit in the stands. I usually sit down by the glass anyways, but it's for the other people that use it. So I go to a lot of other rinks, and that's definitely taken into consideration the sight lines of the rink. And to me, if staff sees there could be a concern there, and I understand accessibility and Accessibility BC, we could also look at putting seats up top. There's other options besides just putting rails on our stairwells. There's other ways of making it accessible with installing seats. And it's a small amount. I don't have an issue with it. Just want to make sure we're very, very careful on sight lines. I know we heard about it when we installed the new heaters because nobody could see. You could see the game and all that, but you couldn't see the clocks. The staff actually had to lower the clocks so that people could see it. So I don't need that. Just a comment. Councillor Julik and then Councillor Hoffman. Or Noxana, sorry. Sorry, my eyes. Here, you come read that. My eyes are bugging out. Sorry.
We do get along, I promise. I appreciate mentioning the Accessibility BC. What I would like to say is I'd like the idea, and I apologize for not being in the arena. I just was thinking now, do we have an accessibility spot? Like, do we have a place for folks that are in chairs or with walkers and stuff? So if we do or we don't have that, like maybe that's the area we need to look at, and I'm okay in increasing this amount because I do know that we have to get on par with BC accessibility, and I think that's important. The other thing that I was really fortunate to be a part of when I was out at the RV park is somebody from Spinal Cord Injury BC came in and put me in a wheelchair, and I quickly became aware of how inaccessible a lot of things are. So I feel like before we spend money on this, let's reach out to the specialists, if that's something I can ask for here today or mention and maybe put a bug in somebody's ear about, and see maybe there's something out there already. These folks even came in and we have an amazing shower house down at the RV park. They showed me some really some issues with the stuff that's there. So I think able-bodied people often don't know what that looks like, and I think we need to think about accessibility as a whole, whether it's walkers or chairs or whatever that looks like. So I think let's reach out to the people who are pros. That's not a good word, sorry, for people who are not as able-bodied and people who know the things around that. That's what I would definitely like to see. And I would rather us do it right than to do something partially and then, oh, shoot, we didn't consider this, and shoot, we didn't consider that kind of thing. So that's my...
Okay, so I'll answer part of your comment there when you ask about is there a place for people with wheelchairs or walkers or scooters and stuff. So there's an area up top, kind of outskirts there. So there's spots there, but you can also go along the rail. There's room there. I mean, it could be a bit tight once in a while, but not really. I've seen some local residents up there that have walkers or in chairs there. So now when you make the other comment, I mean, I want to go to Councillor, but if you just think about that. So when you talk about maybe having somebody come in and just do a thing, to me, that would be like a study. So if we want to do that, to me, that would be a motion for staff to have a group like that come in and say, this is what, instead of that, this is what you should do. And I believe part of stuff that we're already on side with the PRD, with the BC accessibility code coming into effect, there'd be some of that too. And maybe that's, maybe this gets held off a bit until you can do it, but it's two different options there. Go ahead, Councillor Julik. No,
I'm happy to make a motion if that's the case, because I really believe there's no sense us dipping our toes in and then finding out, there's a few more things that we could do here. And I know when I was working with the folks from BC Spinal Cord Injury, and I think they maybe have changed the name, and I could find that out. It was lots at that time. It was a simple phone call, but I'm happy to make a motion that we defer this. With it being on medium, I'm feeling like staff is okay if it didn't happen right away. I guess I would be looking for guidance on that, but I definitely think we need to do some looking into it from people who know.
Yeah, so I'll go to Councillor Noxana, and then I have a question for staff in regards to that. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I hear what you're saying, Councillor Julik, about making it accessible for all, but I think it's a separate issue. We're talking about handrails. You have to go upstairs to go even to where the handrails are going to be installed. So maybe this is two separate issues. I wouldn't want to hold up this to not put it in our budget potentially because we'd like to do something else. I think we absolutely should still look at that though. And I just wanted to mention that we're talking about sightlines versus safety. I'm always going to pick safety. If someone has to move, what is it, 1.5 inches? Sorry, 1.5 inches. I didn't do that right. That's not a huge issue. And this isn't just for mobility challenged people. This is for toddlers toddling up and down stairs while their siblings are playing hockey. It's for parents juggling 50 pounds of gear and tired kids. It's not just one demographic we're looking to keep safe. It's anyone who's going.
Okay, to Ms. Torval, just in regards to Councillor Julia's question, and Councillor Knox, I mentioned it. So I'm not sure what she's like. I'm not looking at holding a budget up, but when we talk about getting clarity, staff need a motion, because it obviously would not be us that contact the group. We would give direction to staff to do it on our behalf.
Yeah, a motion would be required. However, I would like to interject that as part of I sit on a committee, the Northeast Committee for the BC Accessibility, and it's a work in progress to make everything and to get there to where we're going. We're identifying different areas where we can improve upon, and it's great being part of a regional committee. We're getting ideas from each other as to, you know, what we can do to make our places accessible for everyone and safe as well. So I will say that, you know, and yes, it's great to do a study. However, there'll be probably many studies, or we can wait until we want to encompass everything once we've put all our notes together and say, okay, we need to do this and this and this, you know. But in the meantime, we're being proactive in doing things slowly as regards to with the handrails.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Councillor Norbury, then Councillor Hoffman. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kukelka. I would tend to agree with Councillor Noxana's comments. I think this is one of those simple common sense things. We don't have hand railings. Makes sense to put up some hand railings so people can use them as they go up and down the stairs. I can appreciate concerns over sightlines, as like you're there to watch the game. But at the same time, if you can't get to your seats or leave the arena in a safe and effective manner, I think that takes precedence. So I'm in favor of this project moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor. I was actually wondering, do we have for staff, question for staff?
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
No worries. First question I had was, in the 40-year history, have we had injuries caused by not having handrails in these sections? Just anecdotally is fine too. I'm just wondering, is it really a safety concern?
Ms. Torval?
I can't answer that right offhand, but I would ask Mr. Bento if he could answer that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Obviously, this is before my time. As far as I know, we don't have anything, but I need to double check.
Follow up?
Yeah, it's actually second part. That's fine. I'm not wasn't expecting a full answer on that. But in a question versus the Accessibility Act, does the act require that essentially everything is accessible, or is it more of a make sure that there are sections available? Because one simple thing that I'm thinking here is have handrails in a area, a section that would be accessible, and then not have it literally in every staircase section would be one possibility. But I don't know if that would be in violation of the act.
Torval? If it's not something we can answer, I mean, it's just something we can answer
question.
back.
As long as the place, the facility is accessible and people can, whoever would like to, you know, be in the arena, they can be there. Yeah.
Okay. And with that, I mean, I think that speaks to what we're trying to do, whether we're talking about having a separate section at the top, if for a wheelchair, handrails for less abled but can still access staircases. I think I don't have a problem with putting a handrail in a section because that's what we need to do to be compliant. But I'd like the whole accessibility concept put into play here. I really do like the idea of a roll-up section next to seating and that sort of thing at the top edge. If we can do that, I think that would be the best experience for somebody that couldn't access the bleachers, for example. So I'm okay with leaving this here, absolutely. But as far as where it goes and how much we do all at once, I think that's still an open question. Thank you.
So just before I go to Councillor Julich, so just a comment, I mean, I know that the committee's been started through the PRD because the PRD reached out and obviously we've supported it. We have staff on it and stuff like that. So I think you will see more and I think that's what staff's talking to. So like your question about this and that, and I just mentioned certain things. I've seen them other places. You know, I'm not saying it was because of a code that came out. They probably just did it when they built the arena. So I think we'll see some of that stuff come forward as the committee moves forward through the BC Accessibility Act. And then we'll see more of that. I got Councillor Julich, and then myself, and then Councillor Noxana.
Hearing, I take Councillor Noxana's points and agree 100%. So I have no problem going forward with this. I will just take this opportunity. I'm really excited that Ms. Torville is on it. I would just like to take this opportunity to to put in everybody's head to remember that us able-bodied people need to remember that we're able-bodied, and so what we think is helpful isn't always helpful. So when we're moving forward with these projects, if we make sure that we remember that, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, and great comments. Just want to make sure it's clear. I wasn't looking at removing this from the budget as well. So my questions are just, so obviously I reached out to some people. I don't have any children that play hockey, and I don't, I don't sit in the stands anyways. No different than the figure skating carnival, I stood up top. So I know a lot of people have been in the rink, and some haven't, some haven't. So my concern again, I'm going to bring up this rail. So I don't want to get into the weeds here. But when I see and read this about a handrail coming down, comes down the stairwells on down the middle, there's a section here and a section here. Are we putting a handrail all the way down? Because then how do I get to my seat? Because there's a little walk path for every part on the bleacher. So we're going to put that's my concern. So I remember previously in previous councils, we wanted these seats, so we went and put money in. No, then we took the boards off. No, that was the wrong way to do it. So now we got to throw more money at it to fix the problem. And I don't want to do that no more. To me, I just want to make sure that we have it's the right rail. And I understand the site views from councilman, their opinion. That's what I've heard from the people that sit in the stands to watch hockey. So when you come is it a rail coming all the way down and those people can't get into the seat this way because they'll have to go around the other way and come back up and go in? How's that working? Storville?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're going to ensure that the seating is accessible for everyone. So I'm pretty sure that I'll confirm with Mr. Bento that there will be breaks at each level. Mr. Bento?
Thank you. Yeah, Mayor and Council, that is correct. So it's going to be gaps between so people can cross.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. Kind of a circle back point to Councillor Hoffman. I don't think we need to wait for a major injury before we put something safe in to prevent a major injury. Just a comment back. And I would prefer to see handrails in all sections. When the little guys play hockey, they only play on half the rink. So depending on what half, if we're only making half accessible, it's then not accessible to watch the children play. And figure skating's all over the place, and yeah. So I'd be in favor of just doing it properly, the full thing, all at once.
Thank you for that. Ms. Torville, may I ask, so I know previously, and I'm not looking for to hold anything up. Can I have a picture emailed to me on what these rails look like? Again, I don't want to waste money to have to remove them to put something different in because it didn't work. Just like we did with the seats. We replaced the seats 3 times. So I don't want to see us do this 3 times. It's not that I don't trust staff. I just have a concern on how that. I've walked up and down at this weekend on Saturday at the skating carnival, and I just know every seat has a walk path to get to the seat. So are we just looking for like a little handle that goes into there? That's the rail we're calling the rail. I just want clarity, I guess, just for my own mindset. I'm not looking at removing it from the budget at all.
We will ensure that Mayor and Council gets a picture.
Thank you.
Or 2.
Thank you. Councillor Julich?
I just want to make sure we stay out of the kitchen.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but when it comes to past experiences, and to me, I'm I'm only one voting, but to me, when I start approving budget dollars, and it's, sometimes we're doing it 2 and 3 times, I have issues with it, so that's why I ask. All right, any more questions in regards to the handrails at the arena with the bleachers? Okay, number 20, Public Works, production well 1 and 3 flow meters. Any concerns from council? Questions? Okay, Protective Services, replace frontline pumper exceeding its life expectancy in purple. Any questions? Councillor Julik.
So yeah, my eyes kind of bugged out to begin with. And I guess what sells me on this is the property insurance rates would likely rise significantly. So I just wanted to say that that's the part that makes me go, oh, all right then. I don't know if we need, do I understand it? Not at all. Then it's a pumper. So I'm glad to support it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Clickash.
Excuse me, do we have to pay them the whole amount before they start working on it? Or is there a portion that we just pay for the first year, this year, and next year you pay another
Amount?
bit, and then you got a final?
Ms. Torval?
Thank you. Good question. I will, Chief Curry, for clarification.
Certainly, Ms. Torval. Mayor and council, so the replacement of this is just, on the first year would be like a down payment on the truck.
Okay.
We're looking, depending on the type of truck, we'll be putting out to RFP. As part of the terms and conditions of that, we would put a deposit on it for this year, and we could be upwards of a 2 to 3 year delivery date from this time, which is why we're looking to action it this year versus, it was actually due for replacement this year. And then withstanding having a 2-year delivery date, we're already going to see that. We're going to be chewing into some of the life expectancy over and there above.
Follow up?
Good, thank you.
Councillor Julik?
Would there be any value left on the truck that we have? Like, would we have residual value that we could sell the truck after, or is this like a zero kind of?
Yeah, and
Net
other
zero.
staff, but we have a policy in regards to when we retire any kind of equipment, it goes to auction. Ms. Torval?
Yeah, that is correct. Yep.
My questions will be is right now we have an engine, we have a ladder, and then our rescue unit, is it pump capacity? Ms. Torval?
I'm not sure about the capabilities. I will ask Chief Curry.
Mayor and council, so our ladder truck does have a municipal rated pump that's on it. The problem is it doesn't carry enough water to qualify as a frontline pumper when we're talking about unhydrated areas such as the Saddle Club and outlying areas towards town. So it wouldn't qualify as such. One thing that I will note is that I didn't include for equipment reserves transferred out of that. We do have some money already set aside from the depreciated value from this engine. So I didn't allocate that into the subsequent years to base on what we're actually going to pull out of that, so.
Thank you. Okay, I only have one question now. Thank you very much for that. That was my second question, was the reserves, but you already pre-answered it, so thank you for that. Any other questions from council? Okay. Moving on to community services, golf course cooler and freezer unit replacement. I'm going to mention that's going to be in the upstairs restaurant. Any questions from council? Councilor Julik.
So I have a couple of questions, and I'm sure okay. So when we have stuff like this medium, when we're doing this today, this is my second budget, so we could say, yeah, it's only medium, so this is the thing we're gonna pull out? Is that how I understand we do this?
Yeah, so we can put a motion on the floor, and it's not just because it's medium. If we don't agree with something that was in the red,
Yeah.
We don't want to support it, and no disrespect to staff that's in the room. That's why the staff's here to answer those questions before during our debate or whatever, whenever we want to remove, whether it's in red, yellow, or green. These are staff's asks that they believe is what's best for the municipality in regards to whether it's the operation of the golf course or the public works, but at any time, we can remove it.
Okay. So my question would be then, I see that it's 15 years old, and I get that that stuff just ages out, and you probably know better than anybody, because I know you just replaced all your coolers. So, when we say that we're having repairs, I don't mind doing repairs on things if it's not hindering the operations. And the other part is, are we making sure that when we have our leaseholders in there, that they're, I know we've talked about this before, like, is the life less because we have leaseholders? Never mind, that it's just normal wear and tear. I take that back. But I do want to know if we're at a point where the 36,000 just makes sense to do it rather than continue to put money into it.
Yeah, so I'll go to staff on that, but I also have staff the same part of that question, but I believe a part of the contract with the leaseholder is that we make sure equipment is running for them, is my understanding. So that just a two-part, because I understand where you're coming from on the same questions, but Mr. Orville, just in regards to the repair costs, it's cost him much to repair them, and it's time to replace. And then obviously, I believe we're held by a lease agreement, if you may.
Correct. Yep, you are correct, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions in regards to that follow-up? Okay. Any other questions from council in regards to the replacement of the coolers and freezer units? I guess my only comment would be in regards to that, yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge. I wouldn't even say knowledge. Well, I'll go to Councilor Noberry first, because he might answer my question for me. Councilor Noberry?
I don't know if I'll answer your question, Mayor Kakalka, but my comments is that, we are the owner of that building. And I bet if we get ahead of this and replace it now for the cost that's quoted, we would probably save a lot of money versus a middle of the year breakdown where we have to call in somebody last minute to fix it for us. And maintenance costs, like they're a silent killer. Like they'll kill you by 1,000 cuts. So I'd rather be proactive, get something done before we have a critical failure in the middle of a tough time, and then we're on the hook because we own the building and we're responsible for it. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councilor Noberry. Well, you mentioned some of my comments, but my other comment would be is just to make sure that when we install equipment like this in a confined area that it's located, that we have the proper ventilation. So I know to see the budget in here, I don't see any, so I see the budget to purchase equipment, but I don't see anything there where it talks about, whether it's opening up proper ventilation for it to remove its hot air and such, so it's not so hard on the upper compressor units. Mr. Orville, I just want to make just staff is, again, I just want to make sure that we have the right amount, the right budgeted amount. I understand that's for the equipment, but is there anything else that's needed down there in regards to when they install the new equipment? Anything that was recommended by refrigeration techs?
Okay. I'll ask Mr. Bento if he can elaborate on that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, in this case, we were trying to be proactive. I know it's end of life for the walk-in cooler unit there. So we're trying to make sure that doesn't stop in the middle of the year by having a tenant there where the landlord will responsible for the equipment. So that's our concern. In regards to the facility, yes, we had our maintenance people look into that to make sure there's air coming in and out. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I already know the answer, but I just want to be clear. So we're not showing any maintenance or anything cost because that would be under operation instead of capital? So if we're buying this unit, I assume there's a maintenance contract where somebody comes out annually or whatever, the installer or otherwise, but that cost would be showing elsewhere?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, moving on to 23, Community Service Arena, Zamboni Snow Pit Replacement. Any questions from council? Councillor Klikash.
Yes, Your Worship. I just wondered what exactly they're going to replace on that pit and what kind of material they're going to use.
Ms. Turville?
I will ask Mr. Bento to elaborate.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're going to replace the whole pit area, right? So right now it's just covered, so they're just dropping the ice and snow outside. So they have to open the door, and when they scrape the ice, they have to drop outside. So the goal is to make sure to drop in a snow pit. So we're going to have to replace the whole thing because right now it is not working. That's what we're trying to do.
So will they have to replace the piping too as well?
Mr. Torval?
Mr. Bento?
Mayor and Council, no, it'll be just the snow pit area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions in regards to the snow pit? Councillor Clickash, you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Public Works, refurbish, replace DTR picnic tables throughout the community. Any questions, Councillor Knox, or Councillor Julik?
We're going to just start changing our signs, and then you'll
Okay.
be good to go. I am wondering if this is just doing an all-over inventory of all the picnic tables, and we're just going to replace them all, or if this is going through and having a rating level on some that are good, some that are bad. Does it include the Lions Campground? Does it include Monkman Park? Is it just parks? That kind of thing.
Ms. Torval?
Thank you. I believe it is kind of district-wide, but I will confirm with Mr. Bradley.
Sorry, I was just reading it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Sorry, I can't do it all.
Yes, that's correct. Last year, we did a complete audit on our picnic tables in town. We refurbished a large portion of them last year, taking note of the ones that need to be replaced for this year. So,
Follow up.
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, that means you're auditing and you're just replacing the ones that need replaced.
that
Ms.
are,
Torval?
oh, sorry.
I think we should go the other way.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes, that is correct. We're replacing the worst of the worst.
Thank you. Any more questions from council? Okay, before we move on to the next, I apologize, Councilor Norbury, I know you're on Zoom, but we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Oh, eyeballs, dude. The meeting back to order. Just want to make sure Councilor Overy is back on Zoom.
He is there, I'm just putting up the screen.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and we're good to go. Councilor Overy is back. Any more discussion in regards to picnic tables? Everybody was good? Okay, moving on to economic development, signage audit. Questions, concerns? Councilor Julik.
Yes, I like the idea of the signage audit, because I'm assuming it's for the signs, so I'm assuming it's for the signs that we already have in place. And my next question is, then, once we see that something's missing in this audit possibly, who's responsible for putting them back up?
Ms. Dorval.
Thank you. If I could get some clarification on that question, like, do you mean like signs that have been maybe taken that shouldn't have been taken?
Can we just get an overview on in regards to the signage audit, so I understand the sign audit? I've read it.
Okay.
But so what Councillor Julik's questions are, so we go into a sign audit, we realize we're missing a couple signs that used to be there but they're no longer there. Are we replacing them and who's doing it? So I'm not sure the whole scope of the sign audit, how far out of the, just within the community? Is it some of the trailheads? I believe that's what Councillor Julik is looking for.
Okay, thank you. I will ask Ms. Olson to elaborate on the signage audit.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this one is more addressing the gaps that have now come into play. So we now have the fairgrounds and the bike trails. So the in-town directional signs will need some additions to them. Trailhead signs, when we did the big project in 2018, 2019, there were some that didn't get done during that. So I picture it in that we will figure out what are the highest priority for this year, use the funds to fill those gaps, and then with this audit, look at next year. I did put the same amount budgeted for next year. This does not include the highway signs. That will be a much bigger project, and that is coming. We've been waiting on a quote for that. When you ask about whose responsibility it'll be, that all depends on what it is, pretty much. BC Rec sites are responsible for some signs. Some signs are Ministry of Transportation, but the ones that we put up are our responsibility.
Okay, follow up, Councillor Julik?
So just to clarify, then this sign audit would be specifically the ones that are within the District of Tumbler Ridge that are the District of Tumbler Ridge's responsibility. And this dollar amount is not necessarily labor, it lends more to materials.
Ms. Dorval?
So, thank you, Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It would be both. There might be opportunities when we can do some things in-house, but there will be some contracted work that needs to be done, and printing as well.
Okay, follow up.
And it's just the signs within the District of Tumbler Ridge.
Ms. Dorval?
Ms. Olson?
The overarching district, yes, so trails and stuff, not just in the town proper, but yes, within our municipal boundary.
Okay, follow up.
Sorry, so
Oh, sorry.
that would include Wolverine Mountain, WMNF, whatever. All right, WMNS.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, Nordic Society. So it would include those trailheads.
Ms. Dorval?
Ms. Olson?
Yes, I do have some trailheads on this list. The smaller signs that WNMS puts up on the trails, they usually pay for those. I've discussed this with Chora on a high level, which WNMS is at the table. So if this is approved and we go forward with it, it would be a collaboration and seeing, like I said, where those high priority ones that need done.
Okay, follow up, you're good? So if we can just get clarity, so we talk about a signage audit, to me, that's going around to find out what we're missing, and then we come back to council to say, these are what we're missing. These are the signs that we need to install. We need funds. Is this all into one? So we're gonna do an audit and replace signs that we see that we need to replace? Ms. Dorval?
Yes, that's how I picture it. It won't be, there isn't a huge amount that I would see it being way over budget. Yeah, it would be an ongoing, like I said, look at the high priorities this year and then fill the other gaps next year.
So I guess, Ms. Torval, I guess my other question would be, then why are we doing a signage audit if we already know the signs that are missing? By the sounds of it from staff side, is what I've heard, unless I've heard incorrectly, or I've misinterpreted it incorrectly. So when we talk about signage, are we just talking about signage replacement and signage adding and not an audit? To me, an audit is we're going to go around and do an audit of what we have, what we don't have, and then that information would come back to council. This is what we had, this is what we don't have, and yes, we want those extra signages installed. Is that not correct?
I'll ask Ms. Olson, clarification.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I guess maybe audit wasn't the right thing to name this. Maybe gap filling, signage gap filling.
Okay. No, yeah.
Yeah, I do intend to audit as we go because this is something we can do in-house, so, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate the clarity on that one, because I was wondering why we're doing an audit if we already know, and then obviously, so whether it's the wrong wording there, I don't say that, but I definitely appreciate the clarity from staff, just so I had that in my head there, what exactly was the budget. Any other questions in regards to the signage audit? Okay. Moving on, Jim Cable Machine. Any questions from council? Okay. Community Services Facility, VIC chinking, sandblasting, and staining. Any questions from council? Councillor Clickash.
Yes, Your Worship. Are we sandblasting the whole outside of the building? And is that what this indicates?
Mr.
And then refinishing the thing? I mean, I understand the chinking part, but why do we need to sandblast the outside?
Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council, for the question. I will ask Mr. Bento for clarification.
Mayor and Council, yes, so because the logs are getting dark, that is the goal, to sand and stain and chinking. Last year we did the inside, which it's looking really good, so the goal now is to do the outside.
Follow up at all?
Well, I really don't understand that because the logs are getting dark. Because as you put more and more finish on it, that's what happens, the logs turn dark.
Okay. Let me go to Councillor Jilk, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Clickash.
I would say that popped out at me when Mr. Bento was explaining, I'm okay if we save some money on the sandblasting and the Vic Center just gets darker. I don't know what kind of a price that leaves and if that disturbs the integrity of the logs. If it does do that, then I understand the necessity of that. So I guess I would like to know the necessity, and maybe if we broke the sandblasting out. I just know sandblasting is not only, it's dirty, messy stuff. And then you've got a fairly tight window, I would think, to get that stain back on. And I would imagine somebody's good at doing that. If it's just logs looking darker, I'm okay with that.
So I guess the question would be, is integrity of the building? If we don't sandblast it, is there an integrity issue with the Vic Center? I believe it, and if I'm speaking wrong on that question from either council, because I believe Councillor Clickash raised that. So to me, I don't want to get into, I mean, we talk about not getting in the kitchen, but some people have a little bit of information more than I do. So I think that's what we're just thinking. So if we decide that, like, I don't know, why would we sandblast just because the building's getting dark because we've been adding stain? Is there an integrity issue that we need to sandblast it to fix it? Ms. Torval.
So thank you, Council, and that's good discussion. From what I understand, the logs are dark because of all the water and there's mold. So discoloration, mold. So and then to sandblast would alleviate that. So that's, if I could have Mr. Bento confirm and clarify. Mr. Bento?
Mayor and Council, thank you, Mr. Reville. Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so I apologize, but I'm going to question staff back in regards to the report that I received. I don't see, am I missing something where it talks about mold and concern with moisture and stuff? Because my other concern is going to be then what are we doing to prevent this happening again? I mean, the building is fairly new. So is there something that we need to do to make sure that we don't have the same concern in a few years? Mr. Orville?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Mr. Bento?
Oh, sorry. I had you on and that's why I didn't even look.
That is okay. So when we had a contractor here last time, they're the one that did the inside, which looked really nice. It was recommended that we work on the outside. The contract also mentioned we can do in stages, right? Because I know the price is a little bit high for that. We could do the sailing first, the standing, and the shink later on. So we can break down so the cost can be lowered for that.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't think, and I understand other council has some way in here, but again, can I get just some clarity in regards to the report? So I just heard from staff saying that there's due to its mold, water damage, but it's not within the report that I read, unless I'm missing it. So I have a concern there that we're submitting this, which is fine, but if there's water damage / mold on the outside of our Vic Center, how do we prevent that happening moving forward? So we can go in, understand, sandblast it, restain it, totally fine, but I don't want to have to do this again in 10 years. Is there a way to prevent that, or was there something recommended from staff, from the contractor to staff, that we need to see that come forward, Ms. Torval?
I wasn't in on those conversations, Council, but I will ask Mr. Bento if he can elaborate further.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so sorry, I think we forgot to add that the water. There is some water concerns. So that we totally forgot to add that.
Thank you. I got Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. I think we need to remember that even though this is a new building, it's a log building, and logs take a lot more upkeep than other forms of structures. Will we have to do this again in 10 years? Probably. Anything I've seen on log buildings, they require regular maintenance a lot. So I'm okay with the number in front of us. I think it's probably fair for the age of the building, and I would expect to see it again probably sooner than 10 years.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. It's on the same wavelength. I was wondering if we could even have a maintenance schedule of what we can expect for the log structure. Just a quick look at it, it's mildew is the term they use for the darkening of the wood, and it seems to be just it happens over time, especially in wetter climates. So if we need to do this every 5 years, if we need to do this every 10 years, I'd just like to know that that's sort of the cycle that we're going to do for maintenance for this structure. And I don't recall, how old is the building right now? Do we know, how long has it been up for?
Yeah.
So about
Ms. Torval?
10 years? Okay.
It's 2012.
Okay, so that's just it. So if it's a 10-year or 15-year maintenance thing that we're going to do, I'd just like to know that. Thank you.
Thanks. So I guess, I'm sorry, I still have the same question in regards to the water damage. That's what was mentioned by staff. So is there a way, is there something else that we need to do to prevent that? Or is that just going to be the normal cause, whether it's coming in from rain or whatever? Or do we have a roof issue? That's what I'm looking for when I hear there's a water concern. Is it the way it's coming off our roof, or is it just the weather? That's all I'm looking for. Weather? Okay.
Be the weather.
Thank you. Any other questions in regards to the VIC chalking and sandblasting? Okay, moving on to Public Works, 2024 Ford Ranger to replace existing 2013 Chevy 1500 Ranger. Questions, concerns? Okay. Public Works golf course beverage cart purchase. Concerns, questions? Councillor Julik.
I guess for me, this is one of those things, I unless it's in our lease, I have absolutely no desire to buy one. I think that there's one there that in my opinion, the folks that are running the restaurant, if that's their responsibility and it's not in our lease to provide that cart to them, I would make a motion to take this off.
Okay, I'll go to staff, but I believe part of the lease is that we have a cart available. I believe there's concerns of this cart. Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council. I know the leasee is renting the cart from us as part of the lease.
Okay, is there concerns with the cart or that's why it's in front of us?
I think it's because it's not a proper beverage cart. It's like a makeshift cart that they're using.
Okay, okay, thank you. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I have concerns with purchasing a new purpose-built cart for this purpose. Unless we are getting a return on this investment, I'm not in favor of keeping this in the budget.
Do we know what the rent is? I don't know what it is. I think it's $100 a month or something like that. Yeah. So, but obviously, it was an agreement it's in the agreement that we have a beverage cart that we rent to the proponent. My understanding from staff is this is actually not a beverage cart, it's just a makeshift beverage cart. Is that correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth. Yeah, okay. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm sorry to beat the dead horse, but I just want to be perfectly clear. The rent doesn't change if we get them a better drink cart. It would remain the same rental rate as per the lease.
Yes, that's for this current lease, and until there is a negotiated lease, then that could be considered at that time, but as for now, it's the same.
Okay, thank you.
Good, follow-up, good. Councillor Julik?
I would like to make a motion that we remove this from the capital asset.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Noxana, discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Norbury is opposed and Mayor Kukalka opposed. Carried. Okay, number 30, Public Works, roads, road marking painter purchase second road marker for operational use. Questions, concerns? Councillor Julik?
So when I read this, I read it as we want it for a second painter, except then when I look further up, it says that the one that we have is at the end of life. As I see what our capital budget is looking like, I'm less inclined to have a backup without maybe some strong indications that it definitely interrupts operations or whatever that looks like. I have no idea what a paint machine looks like and how big of a deal it is to get it fixed. It was interesting to hear Mr. Bradley last year talk about some stuff about getting parts and stuff. So I guess I'd just like a little bit more information. I understand it's not a big dollar figure. I just think we need to be mindful as we are just looking at capitals today.
Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council. I will ask Mr. Bradley to speak about the line painting machine.
Hey, thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that's correct. This is a second machine. Historically, we've had two machines over at Public Works. Last year, when I approached you guys to purchase a machine in the end of season, this was going to be coming for this budget season. We were unable to get parts for our existing machines, which is why we're presenting it to you now.
Okay, follow up, you're good. Any more discussion? Okay. 31, Public Works Transfer Station, replace transfer station gator. Any discussion? Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I see we have 2 gators in the full list that need replacement. Is there any way to repurpose something like the old truck we're replacing with one of these gators? I'm thinking at the transfer station, it doesn't go very far every day. They probably do their circle. I'm not sure if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I'll go to Ms. Torval. I guess just before I go to Ms. Torval, is my comment would be, I guess, or my thought would be, they're asking for a gators. That's the use of the equipment that's down there. And I believe the reason they're replacing the 2013 Chevy, I think it was a 2013, it's because it's past its life expectancy, but probably the cost of equipment replacement or repair. But Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. I'll ask Mr. Bradley to elaborate.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that's correct. The pickup truck is at end of life. These gators are used on a daily basis. So, and the gator that's down there is currently at $19.99. And we're starting to have some issues with it. We were having issues with it last season and we were able to make it last, so.
Okay, thank you. Follow up? Councillor Hoffman?
I don't remember if we had it last year in the discussion, but something like that where it's getting beaten up at a transfer station. Is there an opportunity for like a used or a secondhand gator that's a few years old? I don't know if there's a market like that for that locally.
Ms. Torval?
You, Mr. Bradley?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure on that answer. The reason for these new gators is Public Works did receive 2 gators last year for the trade-in value of a lawnmower. The gators that we would be replacing would be mirrors of what we replaced last year. They would come with full roll cage for safety, side mirrors, and they'd be able to be insured so that if we needed to use them elsewhere in the community, we'd be able to do that.
Thank you for that. No, thank you for that.
Any more discussion? Okay. Going on to 32, protective services, fire rescue, non-structural PPE acquisition to purchase structural PPE equipments. Any questions? Okay. Public Works facilities, public work, paint public works building. Any questions? I don't have a question, but or not in regards to painting. So it's but directly to staff. When are we going to see reports come back again? I'm sorry, I sat on the previous council, so it's not staff's fault. It's the previous council. In regards to some of these buildings that need to be updated. I mean, I'm sorry, we're going to throw $15,000 on paint. Don't get me wrong. It's going to need painted whether we do some repairs out there or not. So I'm good with the paint. But when are we going to see some of those reports in front of this new council in regards to some of the concerns and issues in regards to retaining the heat, obviously in public works and such. I just don't want to, we're spending $15,000 to paint this year, and then all of a sudden we get a report in front of us and we decide next year to start some upgrades or repairs, and the painting we have to, who knows what, but we just put $15,000 in a building that now we have to take some of it off because we have to replace something.
Okay.
Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That is a very good question. I will ask Chief Curry if he can shed some light on when we're going to be getting some reports.
Certainly, Ms. Torvald, Mayor and Council. So as those members of council prior would remember, we did put some money forward in previous budgets for building envelopes for the town hall, for the Public Works building, and for the fire hall. We've had condition assessments that were done 2015, 2017, again 2019. As part of asset management, we're really starting to change our focus to our buildings and focus on what we need to do in order to get the max life expectancy out of it, whether that's repairs, and look at those condition assessments and come forward with more accurate costing, as it seems to be the barrier to get any forward traction on them. So the short answer is they're coming. We've now, with asset management being a radar, it was something that was on our radar last year. Due to capacity, was not able to follow it as far as we wanted it to, but it is on our radar for this year.
Perfect. Thank you very much, staff, for that. Okay, any other questions in regards to painting? I didn't have any questions about painting, just in regards to the report, but is there any questions about painting? Okay. Do we have a color? No, I'm just kidding. Sad to throw it out there. Okay, Public Works, golf course, golf course, cart storage, planning and development. Before we get questions from council, can we just get an overview of this? Because I have multiple myself, but if we can just get an overview, Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. Mayor and Council, I'll ask Mr. Bento if he can provide an overview, or is this Public Works?
It's Public Works, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this is to have an assessment done so we can find a suitable area to construct additional cart storage, where it's been questioned as to where we're gonna, or where we would like to build. It's getting closer to the bank, so you'd have to do geotechnical. There's a little bit of an extra cost there. Finding a suitable location.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noxana and then Councillor Julik.
Thank you. I'm glad we're just looking at a location. I know there's a lot of questions surrounding the cart storage down there, and it's what's offered, who gets in, things like that. I'm not in favor of a new build at this point. If people, community members want to come forward with a co-op option of some sort, absolutely happy to hear the proposal. Looking at space to put the building, I guess we technically could at this point, but I'm not going to be in favor of a new build at this point.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I'm at this point, actually, I'm not even in favor of spending the amount here. It's out of taxation money. And I think that we provide a fairly reasonable cost as it is. And while I can appreciate that folks want someplace to store their carts, if this was for the district-owned carts, I would be more in favor of it. But if it's, and I get, and as soon as I say that, I think, oh, okay, and we're not going to take care of the taxpayers. What my response to that would be is if we likely will still not be able to cover the carts for everybody in the community. And so in a year where we're watching what we're spending, I'm not in favor of having this money this year out of tax dollars. If it was grant funding or if it was PRA or CW, possibly, but I'm not interested in pursuing this with taxation.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. For this one, I don't see a business case. Like, I don't know, I get you'd need to figure out where and get exact costs, but even just revenues on how much you're going to spend on a building to do what we're talking about. It's just hard to justify a 25,000 just to look into it, and then how much for the building, and then how many slots, and then how long before we start getting paid back. I need to see a business case for something like this, and I would also want to see what the limits are on the existing building, if there's any expansion possibilities or service added on something like that. But there has to be a revenue source for justifying this, to my mind. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor DeSille.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with what the rest of the councillors are saying, and I also will not support this moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kachaka. I'm not personally a golfer, so I'm not, I have no skin in the game, but I do know that our golf course is thought very highly of, from people out of town, from people in town. It's quite the attraction that our community does hold in high value. And even though we may not be hearing it, I do know that it is a need to have cart storage down there. So I'd be interested in seeing and what options are like. If we're worried about a cost recovery, we could build it into some sort of rental of the storage options to try and look over a 10, 15, 20, whatever year recovery process. But I do know that the golf course is a big part of our community, and I'd like to see the people down there supported. So I would be in favor of keeping this for now. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess my comments are similar to Councillor Norbury's, but my question back to staff would be, when we talk about planning and development, are we, I've heard from a couple councillors, Councillor Noxana was one of them in regards to a co-op or something similar to that. And I know other golf courses, and it's only what I've heard on the street, so whether it's true or not true, but like Dawes Creek, you pretty much build your own add on to the compound there, but you do it at your own cost. Is this something in regards to when staff has it within the budget when we talk about storage, planning and development? Is that the same kind of concept? Obviously next location, but also what other avenues for building a second one is out there? Is that what we're looking at?
Thank you, Council. I will ask Mr. Bradley to speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, the budgeted amount is to find a suitable location and develop a plan as far as building a second.
Okay, so I guess just building a second one by the district or other options, whether people do into a co-op where they all pay in and you know, the person that builds the first one, obviously it's a higher cost because you're putting up more walls, person that moves. So I just know other golf courses have done that. So I'm just curious if that's other options we're looking at, or are we just looking at that the district wants to do a planning to find out where we want to put the next one and then come forward that we're looking at building one? District built.
Thank you, Council. I'll ask Mr. Bradley what the plans are.
Yes, that's correct, Mayor Kukalka. That is, the plan this year was to find suitable location, develop a plan for the district to build one.
Okay, thank you. So that clarifies some of my comments. So I am a golfer. I don't have a golf cart in golf cart storage. I rent them from the district of Tumber Ridge, so I just want to be open about that. So I do not own a golf cart. I rent mine. But I hear it all the time, and it's from our local residents in regards to how we need more space down there for their golf carts. It makes it easier access for them. They don't have to trailer them. We talk about ATVs and starting that committee back up and such. But when I look at the one that was built down there, I don't think we'll ever receive the money to the cost to build it back, ever. For what we charge down there for a golf cart to be stored, and then it's heated, and I was in it not too long ago from somebody that does have a golf cart down there, and I believe it was 26 degrees inside the golf cart storage facility. So to me, when we have heat at that high, that's crazy. So I'm hoping someone's going to put a motion on the floor. I 100% support the golfers of the community, support the residents, but I think we need to look at first having that come back before council in regards to, we talked about upping the fees in regards to golf cart storage. So to me, when I see that, I may be able to look at something like this to support those avid golfers and those people that own their carts. But at this point, when we look at the cost that costs to build the one down, and I can't remember the number, staff might have that, but to recoup that cost, I don't think we will with the power, the heat, and all that. And again, they're leaving them there all year long at one set rate. So that'd be my comments. Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Julik.
I'm going to make a motion that council removes project 34, make sure I'm on the right line, from the 2024 capital and special projects list.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Julik. Discussion. Councillor Clickash.
You're right, Your Honor. There's no way of paying it at the rates that they're charging. We barely ever covered the heating cost and the electrical cost for charging the batteries. So the reason that building was put there in that spot, which was approved by council at the time, was it was close to having all the gas and electrical. If you're going to build another building, it won't be as easy. The gas and electrical have to come from somewhere else, if that's the choice that they make. And it's going to cost like $500 or $600 a month just for somebody to keep their cart down there, and they're not going to do it.
Okay, thank you for that comment. So now I'm just trying to think my question, if it has something to do with this, the debate of this motion. I think it might. Just clarity from staff again in regards to it, the golf course storage planning and development. So are we looking, I just want clarity before I vote on this. Just for clarity, are we looking for pretty much the same concept of a storage facility, or are we looking more at a cold storage, golf cart storage? And the reason I ask that could make a decision on if I would support this motion or not. Mr. Orville?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm not able to answer that question, but I'll ask Mr. Bradley what the plans are.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that was, the idea behind this was to get two options, one with power and one would be cold storage.
Okay, thank you. So my thoughts, I understand there's a motion on the floor and that's fine, but either supported or unsupported by council. But I think when you listen to staff and when they say they're looking at two different options, one actually might pay for itself back when you talk about cold storage compared to heated. And obviously anybody that has gas operation does not have to be in a heated golf course or golf cart storage facility. So I think it's a little bit different. So I understand the motion on the floor, but to me, after getting that clarity, and that's why I asked for it, is I won't support it. And I think that the reason we need to do that investigation for the district-owned golf course is because of all the ask and waiting lists. And I'm not sure if staff would have the numbers of people on the waiting list for golf cart storage, but I know it's long. I get asked that every time I am at the golf course. About if the district's ever going to build one. So I won't support the motion because I think we need to investigate the whole concept that staff is trying to put forward. Councillor Julik and then Councillor Hoffman.
A couple of things for me. I appreciate cold storage, definitely going to be a lot simpler to do that. The reason I'm going to support the motion on the floor is that I would want to know the other numbers. Like I would like to do some pre-work to that. Like if somebody was to come to me and say we have 100 people on a list waiting for storage, I would be a little bit more sold on that. And there was another reason, but I forgot it while I was talking, so.
If you remember, just hit your button. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. To your point, Mayor, that I think we need to fix what's going on with the current one before we start talking about building another one. If we're not even, or if we're barely covering the heating costs and we're never getting close to covering the structure costs, we're not charging properly. Like, I'm sorry to say, I know that it's a very popular thing and many people want it. How many would want it if they paid the actual cost of operations? So to my mind, I think we should fix how we're operating the current one. And if we still have a long waiting list, I'd be more than happy to revisit this. But if the demand drops, if the price doubles, I'm not saying it needs to double, but if that's what the cost of operations is, then that's what we need to do. At that point, I'd be more than happy to look into it again. But as it stands right now, I think only we'd be perpetuating the problem by adding more spaces at the rates that people will be expecting them to be. So that's why I'll be supporting the motion today.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, so the motion on the floor, just because we had a little bit of a debate, is to remove the golf course storage, planning and development, line 34. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kakao is opposed. Motion is carried, so it's removed. Okay, on to 35. Public Works Roads, purchase a trailer-mounted traffic control lights to assist with road maintenance. Discussion. Councillor Julik.
So a couple of questions. I just want to clarify that I'm reading this correctly. We do not currently have one. Off the top of my head, I feel like, okay, so I'm not going to make an assumption. We don't have one, would be my question. And is this something that we could put a person in the role of doing? Is this a year-round necessity where I know there's not summer students? Or is this something that could be needed year-round? Because I'm all about the safety and I understand where that's coming from. So the safety is the only thing that's swaying me at this point.
Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, so currently we do not have any traffic control lights. To be clear, this is a set of lights. It comes as a pair, yeah. We've currently used our own employees as traffic control. But when we do that, then we require 3 people, and then we take them away from other duties throughout the district. It's something that we can do and we have been doing for years. This was a recommendation, and it was only a recommendation by WorkSafe last year when they came out and saw us. It wasn't a mandated thing. This was just a recommendation that they're seeing elsewhere.
Okay. So, Ms. Torval, if we just get clarity, I know there's a couple people with questions, or one councillor. We're talking red and green lights. Is that not what we're talking about, so that people can go and come?
I'll have to ask Mr. Bradley. Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I'm just wondering how often this would need to be used. What's the current, about approximately a year?
Ms. Torval?
Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, currently today and yesterday, we've had traffic control out on our streets, so moving closer to the summer season, we do tarring, you do thaws through culverts, road painting, so on and so forth, so.
Councillor, follow up, sorry. My bad.
Just wondering if it would also have a flashing yellow light, like as a caution instead of,
Mr. Orville?
Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The current set that we were looking at does not. It's a red and green.
thank you.
Councillor Julik?
I just realized I'm going to ask a kitchen question, so I'm going to shut up.
There you go. Okay, any more questions? So I guess my question would be, I understand it was a suggestion for WCB. I'd be curious to see how many other small municipalities have this system. I think when we're looking, I've heard it from council, we're moving items because of, it's budgets and got to be, and I understand safety, so it's not that I'm not concerned about safety, but obviously we've done it in Tumble Ridge for multiple years in regards to line painting, tarring, and culvert cleaning outs and such that is mentioned in the report. How many other communities have this? It's $60,000 we're talking. Mr. Orville?
I am not able to answer that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Kilco. Not tonight.
No problem. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. My question's regarding its life expectancy. Like, if we get 10 years out of this thing and it saves us a few hundred hours with 3 people at a time, I think it just might be straight up worth it. Do we have sort of not warranty life or expectation of this sort of equipment?
Mr. Orville?
Mr. Bradley?
Sorry, I cannot speak to the warranty at this time or life expectancy.
Okay, so just with some of those comments, I mean, and it's fine, it sounds like it's a safety concern, it sounds like most council is okay with it. I'm putting a motion on the floor to remove it until staff can bring forward a report in regards to life expectancy and warranty on the unit, just to see what the saving costs are. Councillor Hoffman mentioned that, the motion I'll put on the floor to remove it. Just need a seconder though. Councillor Dissau, discussion. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm happy to support the motion on the floor until we get a bit more information. I think that if it was to have a life expectancy to make it worth replacing people doing the flagging, then absolutely, I'd be happy to add it back in at that time. But it makes sense to get more answers before we spend $60,000.
Yeah, I guess, I know I did say the motion to remove it. Maybe I should have just had it, just looking for that information before that part's approved. Because that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I don't know if to me, we don't remove that number. If I have to amend the motion, I will. If staff recommends an amendment that we don't remove that number until the information comes back. I mean, I think it was a great question asked by Councillor Hoffman, and that triggered me to think, well, hang on a second, let's get that information because it could, whether it pays for itself or we find that, geez, that means we can get rid of 3 or 4 summer students. We won't need extra staffs because, doing the line marking or the tarring at each end of the roadway, so those staff members can obviously move on to a different area of their community to do work. That's why I'm asking for that clarity. Councillor Julik.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I won't support the motion on the floor. I just simply, with the safety number, I think that one of those jobs, flagging, often becomes, I would guess, I haven't talked to a flagger in a while, but it would become mind numbing. So I think that begins to become a safety issue as well. And I think that I see a lot of those machines on the side of the road that look like they've been run a few miles, so I'm going to guess that their life expectancy is pretty long. So I won't support it on that for the safety, and I just think that we need to make sure that we retain staff. And I got to say, I don't know how excited I'd be for you paying me a lot of money to flip a sign around for sure, but still, I think that we can utilize our staff a little bit better, so I won't support it.
Thank you. Any more discussion in regards to holding that line until we have the more information? Do you need an amendment to that, Mr. Orville? I'll make an amendment. We'll do an amendment first and have a debate on the amendment, but that we just hold that line until we have the information come back from staff in regards to life expectancy and warranty and cost saving in labor. Seconder on the amendment? Okay. Councillor Noxana, discussion on the amendment. Councillor Julik.
I would support it if you didn't ask for the labor part, because I just don't think that that's doable. I'm happy to, I would support it if it was life expectancy and warranty.
Well, the amendment's there, sorry. Just added to it. Okay, any more discussion on the amendment? Okay, I'll call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Julik's opposed. Motion carries. Any more discussion on the amended motion? Okay, I'm going to call the question on the amended motion. All in favor? opposed? Counselor Julick's opposed. Motion carries. Okay, is there any more discussion on that? Okay. 36, economic development plans, comprehensive residential development plan in purple, awaiting a grant, is how I read it. Any discussion? Councillor Julick.
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to staff because I know I'm supposed to know what grants we've done and which ones have come back. I'm just wanting clarification if we've received the grant and if this will move forward without it.
Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council. Ms. Olson?
Nope. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this is the Growing Communities Fund. So Council saw a report on this in the fall. It didn't get a budget amendment done and hasn't been started yet. So this is just formalizing that.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, on to 37, economic development strategies, active investment readiness strategy, again in purple, and it was a grant. Any discussion? Okay, and just so everybody's aware, there is a purple and there's new taxation at the end, just so everybody's aware. Councillor Julick?
I was wondering when the last one was done. Have we had one before, and if we have, when it was completed?
Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. I'll ask Ms. Olson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, the work for the last one was completed in 2017, and the strategy was for 18 to 20. So we haven't had a new one since then. And I did just want to clarify something because this is my first year doing it, and I did, I think, make a mistake on here with the taxation because as that amount was part of the grant application, but that's just in-kind salary. So I think I can confirm that with Mr. McPhail, but I think that part can just be removed.
Okay, so that's something staff will look at, and you can just, if staff could just even let us know at the next budget meeting that. Yeah, and I appreciate that, and we're new too, right? So this is only the second go around for us. Last year was pretty quick, so obviously we have new staff in the room, so it's great when you catch something and we can just relook into it and it could make a difference, so. Any more discussion in regards to the investment readiness strategy? Okay, 38, community services, golf course, cameras and cell phone booster. Discussion. Oh, the board lit up. Councillor Noxena.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, I believe last year we were looking at radios that would cover the golf course because there was a dead zone and we wanted to ensure that staff were connected no matter where they were working on district property. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I don't remember that, but Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. I will go to Mr. Bento for the.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll defer that to Jason.
Oh, Jason, I'm sorry. No.
I'm sorry, Mayor and Council. The question was asked that we were purchasing radios for the golf course last year?
Go ahead, Councillor Noxena.
I had thought there was a line item on the budget last year for a radio replacement because of specifically areas in the golf course.
Actually, yes, I do recall that the community services did purchase radios last year.
Okay.
So,
And that was for within the community center, though, was it not? Ms. Torval? Sorry, I can't get it. Almost. Ms. Torval?
thank
My
you, Mayor and
apologies.
Council. I do believe that was for both the community center. They were handheld radios.
Okay, thank you. Follow up, Councillor Noxena. Councillor Julick and then Councillor Dussault.
I'm in favor of the cameras. Like, I think the cameras are a good idea. I just think we're getting into a time of our lives that cameras are just important for a multitude of different reasons. The cell phone booster, I'm a little questioning simply because I generally don't have any trouble with cell phone stuff. So I see that they're saying to get a hold of managers on their work phones. Is this specific to the golf course? Or is it just specific to being inside the community center?
Yeah, I'll be honest, the way I read it, it's, yeah, I don't know, Ms. Torval, to me, it seems like it's community center talking about. Ms. Torval?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bento, can you answer that question, please?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. That is correct. So for the work phones that we carry, especially in the office of the managers there's no signal at all. So we have, when we get a call, we try to answer, or we got to go outside to answer that. It's very poor signal. The reason that we add the cell phone signal with the cameras is because the same companies do that, so we get a better deal when we do it together.
Follow up?
And if I understand rightly, do most of the cameras work off of the cell service, or would it be a hard line? Because that would be my same, yeah, I'll stop there.
Cameras Wi-Fi capability, Ms. Torval?
Mr. Bento?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, this time we're gonna have the option to have Wi-Fi as well.
Good. Yeah, Councilor Dussault, and then myself. Councilor Dussault?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I support the cell phone, the cameras. I don't know, I never seem to have a problem in the community center with my cell phone, so I'm able to receive calls, take calls, use the internet. The only time I do find there is a problem would be in the concession area. So, yeah, I support the cameras, but I'm not sure I'm on board with the cell phones.
With the booster, right? Cell phone booster? Okay. Okay. I guess my question to staff would be, many years, been on council, multiple times we've installed boosters within the community center. Do we have a concern or an issue there? Do we need to do something different? And again, I don't want to start saying we should go to this provider or that provider, but there is other providers out there that have come to the community that seem to be working. Is it the internet that's flowing inbound, I guess? I mean, I know we've installed a multiple amount of boosters downstairs. And it seems to me we're still not working there. So I'm just curious, is there a concern or is there a better fix for staff?
I'll ask Mr. Bento, Council.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we do have a booster there already. We tried to move the booster around to see if we get more reception for the offices, but we couldn't. So the goal is to keep that one there for the other areas that we have and just put another one close to the reception area so we could have better signal for the cell phones.
I guess my question is have we had I won't say a study or a survey done, but have we got a recommendation from, this will fix the problem for staff? Mr. Orville?
I'm not 100% sure, Council. Mr. Bento?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So when we had the company, they came here to take a look at the building, so to be sure that would work. So they were the same company that come with the cameras, right, to give us a quote. So we were ensured that would work for us.
Okay, thank you. And I guess my other question is before I go to Councillor Hoffman, I know I've heard from a couple councillors and maybe they'll change their mind as the discussion goes around the table. But right now we have cameras and cell phone booster all as one item. Does staff have a breakdown for the two? Mr. Orville?
Mr. Bento?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, we do.
Okay.
So the booster would be about $3,000.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Noxana.
Thank you, Mayor. My first point was going to be that split, and I assumed as much, that the booster was a small fraction of the total cost, and that the vast majority was going to be cameras and whatever other service, telecommunication service that was being provided. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I think it is, Councillor Julick's right, this is the day and age with the cameras and for safety and coverage reasons. I just would like to be conscious of the fact that we're putting cameras everywhere and big brothery feel, I'll just put it that way and leave it that way. So I understand why, I actually accept why, especially with the recent safety incidents at the center that had to be dealt with. I think cameras might help with future incidents like that, preventing them as well as adjudicating them. So I am very much in support of this, but I just hope we keep aware and be careful where we place and that sort of thing, and not be more intrusive than we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffman. Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I agree that replacing cameras is probably needed in today's day and age. The booster I struggle a bit with because if we've already looked at solutions and they haven't worked, what's to say this one is the one? Do we need to upgrade our Wi-Fi and do Wi-Fi calling instead? There's, I think, maybe some more options we need to see before we just buy something else and put it in there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I won't speak to staff. Staff can speak for themselves, but, you know, I asked the question, it's $3,000, suggested by the company that came in and did the walk around for cameras and the booster. They say that's the fix. To me, when staff involves a company like that and they come back and say, this is what it is, here it is, to me, the company, if it's not working, they're gonna have to fix the problem. That's the only reason I say it. That's why I asked for if they had the breakdown, because I know when I heard from some councils, I'm thinking, geez, I don't think it's much for the booster. And when if that's the fix, so staff can have their cell phones working in their offices in case something does happen downstairs or whatever, and the employee is trying to contact the management, I think it's important to make sure they try it. If it doesn't work, then they need to circle back to the company that has told them that. Councillor Noberry, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I mean, I support the, staff's ask on this. Hearing the breakdown of the cost of the booster seems like a no-brainer. I could easily see if we separated these two projects, we could easily see that inflate much higher because we have to get someone to come in and take a look around. And I mean, with the effectiveness of getting a hold of our people in the buildings, I think sometimes time is critical. People do need to take calls from different organizations, companies, and time is of the essence, especially if there's issues going on. So I think that's something to think about. Also with the cameras, I think hearing from the community is that we want to make sure that our spaces are safe, and having these cameras will help make our spaces safer and we can have more accountability in what's happening in them. Because I think there's a point where we are responsible for making sure that they are safe. And I think up-to-date cameras is appropriate. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I hesitate to ask this question because it feels like I'm playing in the kitchen. What I'm thinking, though, is I'm in the opposite side of this camera, and I'm thinking, why do we need cell phones? We have hard lines at the community center. So I was hoping maybe Mr. Bento or Ms. Torville could give me a situation that cell phones are needed there in the center because there's not a phone nearby. And that's just because I think of me, if I'm on the other side, all I'm thinking about is hard lines. And so I'm just curious and hoping that's not playing in the kitchen too much.
Nope, it's just Ms. Torville? I don't believe it is at all.
Not at all, thank you. That's a good question. Yeah, so cell phones are used more and more all the time, especially as we've increased staff over there. Not everyone has the traditional desk with the telephone on the side of the desk. It's cell phone. It's for safety as well. Or if there's an emergency, you've got staff as a cell phone on them, and they can contact the appropriate people that they need to contact in that instance. So yeah, cell phones are used more and more.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Any more discussion in regards to cameras and cell phone booster? Okay, I am going to be taking a 5-minute recess. Councilor Norbury is on Zoom. So is there any more discussion in regards to the cameras and cell phone booster? I have one more maybe a couple more questions. So my question, I guess, would be over the years, obviously, we've had cameras installed and probably added cameras after so many years and added more cameras after so many years. Is this concept here is obviously to have one system, Mr. Orville?
I'm going to ask Mr. Bento, but I believe that would be the object here is to have one system, a better system, because I don't know if you've ever seen any of the video footage. It's some of it can be quite pixelated, and it isn't very clear. So this would be new and improved video. But I'll just confirm with Mr. Bento.
Mayor and Council, that is correct. So we're looking to have all the cables and the cameras replaced and have one system for everything. Some of the cameras right now, they're really blurry and hard to see. So that's the goal, to have new cameras and, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And if I may, I'm not sure how many cameras we have today. If I could get that number, and how many, are we adding more than we have today? Mr. Orville?
Thank you, Council. I'm not sure what the new system will entail, but Mr. Bento.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Right now, we have 42 cameras in the community center, and we have 12 at the golf course. We're looking to replace the 42 that we have at the community center and add 10 more there. At the golf course, we're looking to add 16 cameras.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think that's great information to know that we are actually, one, replacing the system to one module, but also adding the extra cameras at both facilities for more coverage. I think that's, I mean, not that it didn't sell it to me when I seen it. We all know we've started up a committee a year and a bit ago, had policies come before council, and staff I know have had to use that policy and such, and whatever it is to be able to assist staff when we put those policies into place. Because I mean, obviously, for the community center wise, I believe a lot of video is used when staff goes and does their investigation into the complaints. But even then down at the golf course, I mean, I know, again, I'm a golfer, but I know there's, you know, I mean, it's a fairly dark zone in the wintertime. So to know that we're trying to protect the assets of the community, I think is a good thing as well. Councillor Clickash.
Yes, Your Worship. Just wanted to know whether the recorders are able to handle these upgraded cameras.
Mr. Orville?
Resolution might be different.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Orville?
Thank you, Council. Mr. Bento?
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, sorry. I thought he left himself.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, that's the reason we get a new system that will be able to handle the high quality for the cameras.
You good, Councillor?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, no other questions. Moving on to number 39, Public Works Golf Course Gator replacement. Any questions from council? Okay. Moving on to number 40, Public Works Parks, dog park, installing fence for a dog park in the community. Well, any questions of that from council? So I am going to go first, even though I know some councils have hit their lights, but I do get that opportunity. So I guess my question back to staff is, my understanding previously from staff discussion with council was looking at just, it's not, there was talk about building one, then there was talk about using an old, one of the old ball diamonds and just fixing some of the fencing. So if I can just get clarity on that, is this a purpose-built one? Or is this just repairing what's around the ball diamond that staff had brought forward at a previous meeting? Ms. Torval?
I'm not 100% certain on that, but I'll ask Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, there's actually two options here in discussion. It would be purpose-built, 100 by 100. Location would be determined. We were thinking with the space that we require, would probably be down on Chamberlain Park. Then to save money for the district, we have a ball diamond. I believe it would be number 3 ball diamond. It's underutilized, and it's already being utilized as a dog park, so to speak. We maintain it already, we mow it already, we've put dog bags out there because it's used so frequent. We take care of the garbage there currently. It would just require a little bit of money for for fixing the man gates, but yeah, sorry.
Right. Thank you for that. And I did read it, but I just want clarification. So I can't wait to hear from other council. But I have huge concerns in it. I have huge concerns in regards to, I think you called it Ball Diamond 3. So I've been out there recently, quite a bit recently. It really is concerning that, well, one, they're using it, and I understand it. People just think that it's not being used, so we use it as an off-leash dog park. But the amount of, I mean, I'm glad we have bags out there, but I'm curious if they ever get filled up, because to me, it doesn't seem like they're being used. So I walked through the field the other day before we got some snow, and I was quite astonished at the amount that has not been picked up. I did talk to a staff member one time about it, and they're like, well, when the summer hits and we go there with the mower, we clean it up. I said, well, we really don't clean it up, we just chop it up. So that's my concern, is the liability. So we talk about dog parks and people, pet owners being responsible. And previously, we tried to bring this forward my first term of council. And that's my concern, is we go and do these things, but it's not actually upkept by the pet owner. And is there any liability to the district when it comes to that in regards to parvo and stuff like that, when we build a purpose-built one or repair one and it now becomes a district asset? Is there any accountability when we all of a sudden realize that maybe pet owners haven't done their due diligence and someone's dog gets sick, and worst off, they lose their pet? Mr. Orville, are we aware of any of that?
I am not aware of any of that, council. I'll ask Mr. Bradley if he's aware of any of that sort of thing.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. No, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of any of that.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I got Councillor Jilic and then Councillor Noxana.
I'm just going to start with making a motion to remove this from our capital budget before I start discussing.
Okay, seconder? No, second it. So discussion, go ahead.
I am not in favor of this. I follow Facebook. We don't have responsible enough. Let me back that up a bit. We have some pet owners in the community who are not, who show that there's not the level of responsibility. People want to socialize their dogs. There's people who, I, for example, am walking my dog, for example, and 3 dogs come running at me because my dog's on a leash and their dogs are not. And they yell at me, "My dog's okay." And I'm like, my dog is not. Like, I don't, so to me, that's what ends up happening in the history of, and I know we don't have a dog park here. I echo Mayor Kakauka's concerns that if we have one, it adds to our protective services, length of calls, all of, like, to me, I don't see the benefit of it. If you want to socialize your dogs, then find a play date for one that's socialized. There's plenty of people who have rescue dogs who do not respond well to other dogs coming up to them. Are we going to be sure that everybody that goes and uses the park is aware of those nuances and stuff? And so for me, I echo what Mayor Kakauka has said. We've obviously shown that we have pet owners who are not responsible because we have a ball diamond that's full of poop. And I see people hanging poop bags in trees. And I don't know if they think those disintegrate over time, because they don't. Like, leave it on the ground. And if that's the reasoning out at the ball diamonds, take your dog someplace else where people aren't going to have to come and step in it, or other dogs aren't going to have to be exposed to that. Not in favor of this whatsoever. Never have been, even as when I wasn't on council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of removing this. This is something that the community has asked for a long time. What did you say, your first term on council? So a long time, many years this has been asked for. You're real old, sorry. And I see this as a solution to some of those loose dogs. People who have reactive dogs aren't going to a dog park. And if they are, they should probably learn a bit more. But the people who want their dogs to be off leash, to socialize, to whatever, they go to the one specific dog park instead of the ball diamonds, instead of wherever. The uncollected poop would be in one area instead of where the kids are going to play. It's a solution for many of our issues. I'd like to see if there is insurance coverage and things like that before we went forward with this. I know it's been done successfully in other communities. Dawson Creek has a dog park. I believe Chetwynd has put in a small dog park. There's a few others in the surrounding Peace River Regional District. I don't know, it's something the community's asked for. $20,000 is not that much to put it in.
So just before I go to Councillor Hoffman, just because you asked a question, yeah, it definitely came up in my first term, so I believe it was 2 or 3 residents came forward. And we got together over coffee and stuff like that. It was brought before council, and even then they said to start up a group. So there's accountability. Somebody else is taking on the responsibility and wasn't the district. Obviously, there was no fruitation from the pet owners to come forward to take it on. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't understand the logic, Councillor Julik. The irresponsible pet owners would avoid that place like the plague because the other owners are going to be on them. Like, I can't imagine not saying something if I was there and somebody just left their dog stuff, because there is a high percentage of dogs. I've heard about this as well. I just don't see, I see a potential downside if there's liability issues. Yes, I don't think we're ready to break ground at this point in time, but to plan to do so, I mean, I don't know if we need 100 by 100 feet. That sounds like a very big start. So I have some questions on that. But the percentage of dog owners, I've had the same thing too. My dog is ready to go if somebody charges at them, and not exactly the best situation, but that's going to be a problem whether there's a dog park or not. And I think for the responsible, the majority ownership, majority of pet owners, I believe, are responsible, do pick up after their dogs, use the trash cans or their own trash cans or their friends, depending on where they are and what time and who they're talking to. So if this just seems like a good idea for the size of town and the amount of dogs we have here, is to give some space to off-leash for dogs to run around and meet each other. And I don't know if this is the final price or not, especially if we trim it down a little. Could use a quarter of the size. I think 50 by 50 might be a more reasonable start, but we can have that discussion another day. So, I can't support the motion. I think we should be moving forward with this.
Thank you. Councillor Dussault and then Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should push your button, eh? There you go.
Thank you, Mayor. I think a dog park is great. Now, I did a bit of research on this. The town would hold the liability for it and the responsibility. The best way, they say, to move forward with this is have a group run the dog park. It should be a group running the dog park, not the district itself. The district would oversee, but a group would do it. And as to the comments of people don't take uncontrolled dogs, yes, they do. I have been at many a dog park, not here, but where big dogs have come in and attacked little dogs. And the owners couldn't do anything about them. So yes, there is that liability. And unfortunately, not everybody is a responsible pet owner. The risk management is great. So I honestly don't know. I'm kind of still on the fence. I'm not sure if I'm for or if I'm for against. But if we could have a group come to council and say, hey, this is what we would like, and then have the district work with that group, I think that would be a better option. That's all I have.
Thank you. So Councillor Norbury, then myself.
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. I'd first like to say I am in full support of dog parks. I think we should have off-leash dog parks. I think we should have bad dog parks. I've seen it in Kamloops. There was a good dog park, and there was the bad dog park. And the bad dogs went. It was the garbage one, and that's where they went. And I think it was great. And obviously, municipalities have been able to manage this liability field. But at this point in time, I'm in favor of removing it. And the reason why is I think the process, I don't think this is the correct process for this. I believe that we should be having a good discussion where we can have some questions answered regarding liability, who's responsible for the dogs, what would happen this, are we responsible if something bad happens? I think we're missing a little bit of key discussion there and information before we move forward on this project. So at this point in time, I'm in favor of removing it. But I am in favor of dog parks. 100%, but I think we're jumping in with 2 feet and we've got to slow this process down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Norbury. Yeah, and so I'll make a comment. It's not that I'm against dog parks. I mean, maybe that came off that way, but when it did come forward, when I first met with a few residents and stuff, I didn't even own a dog. So I just thought it was great for the community. Not only is it about socializing the pet, but it's socializing the individual, the owners, the pet owners and all that. The concern I have, and I mean, I brought up liability, sick dogs, fighting dogs, whatever. The other concern I have, and we've discussed this up previously in regards to staff labor, staff time, operational budget becoming, and under the risk management part of this report is staff cleaning up potential dog feces. So that is a concern I have, that we're going to want to have staff, extra staff hours, whatever it may be, to go clean up after pet owners. So Councillor Dussault had mentioned something about a group coming forward or somebody. To me, I think we're just a little ahead of this, and maybe we should be reaching out to see. There's lots of people, and I mean, I've talked to a lot of residents, and there's some that have the dogs. They use the ball diamonds and such. And I've been out there when there's been a few local residents out there and had some good conversations with them. You know, maybe a group like that needs to come forward first. That we know that there's, it's not about the district not having involvement, but I mean, to be able to have staff time sent out to the dog park, off-leash area, to be able to be sent out there to pick up dog feces because pet owners aren't doing it. Again, to me, it doesn't matter where it's spilled. But to me, that's a concern. We talk about it all the time about staffing hours and why hasn't this been done, or how come this report hasn't come forward? Never mind the report. Why do we have so many carryovers from the previous year and we didn't get this done? We didn't get, well, staff's at their limits. And now we're going to add another task to that, and that's picking up dog feces. So that's my concern. I think we're ahead of it, and I think we need to maybe work on it a bit more, whether a little bit more clear directions to staff, just to see what we can do, and for the people that, you know, I mean, I know Councillor Hoffman, you're the one that brought this forward. You know, I tried to do it in my first term with a couple residents that didn't want to come forward, but maybe we need to reach out to some of these pet owners and have them come in and take on some of it so that we're not relying on all the staff to take care of an off-leash area, whether it's the cleanup and such like that. But that's my comments. I'll support the motion on the floor. I got Councillor Julich and then Councillor Hoffman.
I thank you, Councillor Norbury, Bad Dog Park. I've never heard of that, but that would be a good one. People know what they're getting into when they open the fence. I would just echo what Councillor Norbury and Mayor Kakauka have said. It becomes another asset that we have to manage. I can't imagine who would end up drawing the short straw to have to pick up the dog poop. And we've absolutely proven that there are irresponsible pet owners in this community, because you can tell by the amount of poop that's hanging out. And it's not everybody. I absolutely agree. It's not everybody. I would also echo, let's see what kind of response there is. There's a lot of noisy people on Facebook. Is it a handful of noisy people and a quiet majority, or is it just a handful of noisy people? I would like to see us add it to a town hall. If this is something the community really wants, give me some numbers. Show me that people really want it. In my experience, I have only maybe had a half a dozen people say to me they hardcore want a dog park. We have so much open space here. I can't support it. And like I said, it just becomes another asset we have to manage. And I don't want to pick up dog poop, so I can't imagine there's a staff member who does.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Councillor Hoffman and then call the question. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel the wind's blowing. I would still not support the motion because I think at least having the dedicated funds and having it available to go forward is just part of it. Instead of in 6 months having to look for undedicated funds, to have that available to continue on, I don't think is unreasonable, especially with the amount that we were talking about here. And if it's council's wish to have a society do it and there isn't a society, then it doesn't get spent. So I really don't see the harm in having this as a budget item, because I totally agree. We don't have size, we don't have location, we don't have the liability questions answered. I am simply thinking that having the funds there, if we decide that they're available, they are already there, they're already dedicated, and it shows that it's something that we could be moving towards, because I really want that Bad Dog Park. I want that somewhere. I just love the name. I just think we need signage for that too, if the economic department is ready to go. To have the good dog and the bad dog, maybe halos on the good park and the horns on the bad park. I think the mayor's other point is it's also good for the residents to meet each other, make those play dates that you're talking about. As I know for myself, especially during COVID, that first couple of years here, there was not a lot of ways for interaction. I'm not saying that that's a justification for this. It's just another example of where some like-minded people can get together, hang out, and maybe they find they have something in common, and so do their dogs. But I would like to see this move forward, and I think if we remove it from the budget, I don't think it's going to happen for another chunk of time until somebody pushes forward again. So I just would like to see the funds there, so I'm asking them to be left there. Thank you. Thank you for giving me my piece.
Yep, no problem. All right, I call the question, and the motion on the floor is to remove the dog park, install fencing for a dog park in the community. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Opposed is Councillor Dussault, Councillor Noxana, and Councillor Hoffman. But the motion carries to remove. Okay. On to protective services, AD replacement ×2. Any questions? ×2, didn't I say? Is it ×3? No, it said ×2. Okay, I'm just going off the 2024, not next year's. This is just for this year's budget, ×2. Okay, moving on. 43, economic development, land sale policy update. Questions, concerns? Okay, moving on. Community services, facilities, racquetball court room gym extension. Any questions, concerns? Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. And just to clarify, we're on 44?
Correct.
Correct. Thank you. So thanks, staff, for bringing this back. I know this was quite the discussion that we had about looking at alleviating, pressure and stresses at the gym, trying to get more room. Looking at the projected costs here, I don't see it in my opinion. I think, when I was envisioning this project, I thought of something that would be just utilizing the space and not having this additional cost to it. So I would be in favor of removing this.
Okay. Do you want to put a motion on the floor, Councillor Norbury?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'll make a motion that we remove number 44 from the budget discussions.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Councillor Julik.
I see the other option here is to wait until the daycare moves to another location. So I know that we're waiting on confirmation from the province as to whether or not we're going to get the daycare funds. And Councillor Norbury or Councillor Noxana can correct me if I'm wrong. So I will be in favor of just removing this until we get the daycare stuff figured out. Because if the daycare, and again, I would ask for their knowledge, if the way I understand it, if that fund comes through, if that funding comes through, the daycare will leave the current location.
Councillor Norbury. He's the chair.
Sorry. So we haven't gotten any confirmation whether they have gotten it or not. I think, I don't really want to speak for the YMCA, but they're unsure of what their operations will look like when they get that funding. So it's hard to say either way. But either way, I mean, for the cost that's located in here, I think we have just better options, in my opinion.
Follow up?
I would just say I'm going to support the motion on the floor just to see how the childcare stuff shakes out. Just for the amount of money, I think that we've also talked about making an addition, and I would rather see that money go to a purpose built. So like this way we'd be rehabbing something versus something new. So as much as I honestly, I would like to change it because I see I'm hearing the added use of our gym facilities is phenomenal. And so I really like to alleviate some of the pressure off of there. I wish this was 6 months later and I could make a better choice. So unfortunately, I'm going to support Councillor Norbury's motion. Not unfortunately because it's his motion, but unfortunately because I'd like to see some changes for our gym users.
Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. So even if we get a call tomorrow, or YMCA gets a call tomorrow that their grant application was approved they still need to build a facility. So I think that's a few years out. I'm still in favor of the motion on the floor because I think that this doesn't address the full need for our gym. We need to look at what we can do to make this more user-friendly for the people who utilize this service. So I'm going to support this motion and hope that something else comes back to further address this problem.
Thank you. Yeah, let me make a comment. I do support the motion on the floor, and I think my thoughts were some similar to Councilor Norbury's, where I didn't think it would be we'd be looking for this kind of a budget to look at this revamp. And I understand why we would look for certain things in a revamp to do this. And, I appreciate staff because, it's something council keeps constantly bringing up, and please look at this and please look at that. So, we've spent a lot of staff time giving that direction and stuff. And I think, council really needs to think, like, this is a motion in the budget, but I think council really needs to think when we're doing that now, moving forward, because it won't be off the table, but I could just see us bringing this back up and trying to send staff again to go look at something that we got to bring this back to where it came in front of us and just hold the brakes and let's just wait to see what does come to fruition. And if that doesn't come out, then we need to figure out other things and whether that's having staff start reaching out looking for different grants or whatever to try to add on something, but to spend an amount of budget just to revamp a racquetball court, I don't think it's worth it for the district of Tunbridge. I understand that the people that use the gym would want that and would probably use it, but I think we got to be accountable and spend the dollars where we need to. So I support the motion, and I just think we just need to let some things come maybe to fruition and try to circle back to it. Okay, any more discussion in regards to the motion on the floor to remove line 44, which is the racquetball court room gym extension? Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, on to 45, Public Works, Administration, printer and plotter scanner to replace existing on at one at Town Hall for mapping. Printer. So is this actually under Public Works? Mr. Orwell, is it? Okay. I thought maybe I had it wrong or something. Okay. Okay, any discussion? Okay, moving on to 46, Public Works, Golf Course, sand gravel shed, purchase to cover materials from Elements Easier. Discussion. Councillor Jelic.
I would ask, does this damage the sand? Like, is there a cost to it being exposed?
Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Council, for the questions. Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is just to contain what we purchase every year. When it sits on the ground in the middle of a gravel pit, it's going to get contaminated. So this is just kind of to protect our investment.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. How big of investment are we talking about? How much do we spend on sand each year?
Ms. Torval.
Thank you. Mr. Bradley. Do we have those numbers?
I'm sorry, I do not have those numbers at this time.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I guess to me, it's an important information to have if we can just get that to us when we can. Because it is, I don't want to speak for Councillor Hoffman. I think it's a great question. And to have that makes it easier on a debate, I think.
There is no debate until we do. That's.
Yeah.
No, for me, I need a number. As if we're spending $1,200 on sand each year, which I probably way off, I understand that. Or if we spend $12,000 and lose $6,000 of it each year, all of a sudden a 10-year investment is there. That's all I'm looking for in this sort of stuff, because without it, I just can't make a decision on it.
Yeah, don't disagree. So I have I guess comment. I'm not going to even ask a question, but I guess my comment would be: is there a cheaper version? You know, we small municipality of Tunbridge here. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have an amazing golf course and such, and we try to definitely protect assets and such. But to me, when we're talking sand and whatever, tarps, like I mean, I think we need to have that money to have it. So I'll put a motion on the floor that that staff bring forward report on the costs of the material that is being covered and the amount that's asked for the budget. Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Just going to confirm with staff because that was kind of an ad hoc motion. Good? Okay. Any discussion in regards to the motion? Councillor Clickash.
Yes, Your Worship. The problem I see with this is if you don't cover the sand or gravel and it gets snow and everything into it, it's going to be harder to load into the machinery for spreading, right? So it should be covered, right?
No, this is for the golf course. This isn't at the Public Works for roadway salt, or sorry, roadway sand. I believe anyways.
It doesn't matter where it is.
Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Bradley?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, this is a sand shed for the bunkers and whatnot, fertilizer areas.
Okay. It's different.
Any follow-up?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Different.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to 47, Public Works Golf Course, golf cart replacement. Replace 2008 golf cart fleet over 2 years. Comments, questions? Councillor Knox-Center.
Thank you. It says the revenue for the golf cart rentals is about 80,000. I'm just confirming that's per year.
Ms. Torval.
Yes, it is.
Follow-up?
No, I'm happy to support this. It sounds like we get a return on this investment, so.
Councillor Hoffman.
I was just wondering how many golf carts are we talking about here?
Ms. Torval?
Thank
Sorry,
you, Council. Mr. Bradley?
Sorry, it's up in the first line. I missed it.
Okay.
12, thank you.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time going back and forth because I know I read it in there, I just can't remember it. Yeah. Okay. So, any other questions, comments? So I have a question, I guess, and, you know, and I think I might have asked this previously and then told the cost or the differences. But to me, when we always seem to purchase golf carts. See, it's getting to be 8 o'clock, yeah. Have we ever looked at the lease option? Like, well, to me, sometimes, like, I look down there and, you know, previously we replaced carts and then we sold the old ones or tried to offload some of the old ones. We don't get any value for them after we replace them and stuff like that. But to me, when you lease them, I don't know, I'm not in the golf course business, but I know that usually it's a rotation. It's whether it's every 2 years, the lease is sent back and new ones. I don't know what the cost difference is, but obviously when we buy carts, we're taking on all of the assets. So they last for so long, they're beat up, you get no money for them when you trade them in. I remember one year, I know we've gone to more gas, I believe maybe now all gas compared to battery, but I remember at one time that we had golf carts that were left outside and we had to replace every battery after a year. And that was huge money. So I'm just wondering if we've ever, I know I've asked that question before, I know staff's looked at it, but it's good for the debate. Ms. Torval, if you have any?
Thank you, Council. Mayor, I don't have any information to provide on that right now. I do know that in the past, it was looked into, but for whatever reasons, it wasn't viable to go that way. I'll ask Mr. Bradley if he's got anything to contribute to that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Sorry, at this time, I don't have any information to confirm. Previous to me being in this position, I do believe that there was a time period where we did lease golf carts, electric ones.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Council, oops,
Sorry.
please.
Sorry, Mr. McPhail can speak to the leasing of golf carts.
So Taylor has golf carts. When I talked to the manager actually about this replacement. 2008, when you get golf carts that are still running well, but it's time to replace them, you're looking at the longest for a rental fleet, you're looking at 15 years. Personal use, 25, and he recommends actually every 7 years. So when you've got 16 years on them, you've done really well.
Okay. Thank you very much for that information. Councillor Julik.
So I guess for me, I notice on some of the other sheets that we have, Mr. Bradley's really good at putting, like, things are at their end of life and that kind of stuff. And so I'm wondering if we're asking for this amount because it's policy or because he feels they need replaced. I guess I just want to, like, I'm guessing if he's got it in here, it's that way, but I'd also like to know if it's just a policy thing, because I know we have policies on equipment replacement. Because maybe this isn't the year that we do it. Maybe we pick another year. It's a big dollar amount.
Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, so it is a part of the asset replacement policy. There's a unique situation with our golf carts. We have a full-time mechanic. So we do a full service every year. We've already ordered the service kits for these units for this year. When we have issues with the golf carts, we have somebody that can go down and tend to them. Somewhat different from an actual golf course. Mechanic at our disposal. So, yeah, to be perfectly honest, I mean, we can keep this in here as a part of the asset replacement. We don't have that many issues right now with our golf carts.
Okay. So, and I know you say about a number, but I believe this is coming out of reserves? Just for clarity, I think? That's from reserves?
Yeah.
Councillor Julik.
With that information, I'd like to make a motion that we take line 47 out of the capital assets.
Seconder? I'll second it. Okay, discussion, Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish you waited a second on that one because I would have liked to have the discussion first. I was actually thinking that we just spread it out over a longer time. That instead of doing 6 a year, that we just plan on doing essentially 2 a year for the next few years, and just sort of the worst of them get cycled out, and then we have a longer term ability to have a smaller bite at this going forward. So I would be happy to dig in this a little more, because if there's none that really need replacement, then we starting next year type idea. But I would rather not have this 68,000 hit every year. I would rather just sort of, if we have 80,000 of revenue, we replace 2 every year, or maybe the 7-year cycle, maybe we end up with 14, whatever. I don't want to prejudge that at this point in time. But if they're being rented and there's days that we don't have carts available that we could at least be covering costs, I wouldn't, and we have the space, caveat there, I would like to see this be spread out over a longer period of time.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
So in response to that, why I would go against that is because that would probably not fit with our policy. The other piece for me is, let's keep putting the money in the reserves, because the golf carts are already depreciated. Like, they depreciate over their lifetime anyways, so whether or not we use them in those last 2 years, to me, when they go out to market, when we do the resale as part of our policy, we're probably not gaining any more funds in the end run for them. So for those 2 reasons, I would say that just taking it off the line right now. You know, obviously, if we end up not having a mechanic and they aren't able to get the kits in, that'll look a lot different. But I think from what Mr. Bradley said today, I'm comfortable taking them off for this year.
Okay, thank you for that. Before I go to Councillor Hoffman, I just got a couple comments. So I looked at our risks, and I looked at, you know, if there is a concern and all of a sudden we start losing some of the fleet, there's a lack of golf carts to rent, there's a result in lost revenues. I think when staff brings this forward, I mean, I don't think it's just, oh, let's just replace them because we want to. You know, they're saying, yeah, right now it looks like they're okay, but all of a sudden we start the season and we lose 6 right off the bat. Well, now we have no funds. To me, I think when staff is trying to do asset management and using it out of reserves, when we talk about 2008, and I just heard from the financial specialist how that's pretty amazing to see that thing. I do think that it's, when this comes forward, that it is time to slowly replace them like staff's asking, and then instead of next year coming forward realizing we've lost 11 carts and we're replacing all 11 in year 2. So I won't support the motion on the floor. I got Councillor Hoffman.
I'm sorry, I just need clarification from Councillor Julik. You're saying putting it in reserves. I did not think that that's how this would work if we said no at this time. Is that incorrect?
I'll go to staff.
Yes, thank you. I'll ask Mr. McPhail. Do you need to?
Well, it depends if you used it for other assets, because it doesn't match to that asset. You could choose to take money out of the reserves for something else. So that's a possibility. So, but if you choose not to replace the asset, you get your interest revenue from that.
Okay, is this from the reserves, or would it be on what, it's capital, so it would be from the reserves, it wouldn't be to the tax rate? Okay, I'm good, thank
It's
you.
from reserves, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't increase your tax, it's not taxation.
That's what I wanted to clear up in my head, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Noxana.
Thanks. This is money from reserves, so it's not that we don't have the money if suddenly we lost 6, it's that we haven't budgeted for it. There's nothing saying we can't go back and say we have to take money, unbudgeted funds from reserve because we've lost 6 all of a sudden. I hear that they're in running condition. There's no major concerns at this time. They've been able to order the kits to service them, so that money's already been spent to service these existing ones. I'm okay waiting a year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand, before I go to Councillor Norbury and then Councillor Noxana, I understand your comment there, but it's the ordering process. Right, so you can have the money in reserves all you want and say, okay, well, it's in there, so we need it. All of a sudden you lose 7 cards, so let's order them. Yeah, well, we're waiting till October. I believe. I'd have staff that, but I bet you that's why they're asking for in the budget today, is so they can get these things pre-ordered. Ms. Torval?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So I'm in favor of keeping the golf cart replacements in at this time. I'm always a big fan of being proactive, and I'd hate for these things to get decommissioned, or we spend a bunch of money on fixing them up all the time. You hear about that; it makes people upset. Yeah, they're getting old. They've lasted a long time, and I'll speak to Mr. Bradley a little bit in that. In his time here, he has definitely shown the willingness to hold on to equipment as long as possible. So, in this situation, I would defer to his judgment in that it's time to replace them. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Councillor Jilek.
I don't think that I'm going against what Mr. Bradley is saying. I think that he brought them forward because it's in our policy for him to bring them forward because it's equipment replacement. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. And I misspoke about the reserves. I don't know where I come up with that word because I totally get the reserve part. I've been down there. Those golf carts are in amazing condition. They're like top notch. The staff has done an amazing job keeping them running and making them look good. If I didn't know that they were 2008s, I'd have never guessed 2008s. I'd have absolutely thought late 2010, like 15, 16, 18 kind of thing. So I'm still going to ask for them to be taken off. My husband's a mechanic. I have a nephew who's mechanically inclined, and he can fix them pretty much like that. And if we have a licensed mechanic that can do it, I'm okay with that. And I'll stop talking because we have 60 seconds.
Yeah. I'm going to go to staff because I don't believe every cart that we have down there is 2008. Ms. Torval?
That is correct. I can defer to Mr. Bradley if you want the breakdown of the years, the cards.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't have the total for you at this point in time. I do know that we have 12 carts that are 2008, and they are slated for replacement.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Hoffman, and then I'm calling the question.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I guess it's a policy question then. Is changing this cycle against policy if we were to spread this out over 4 years instead of 2 years?
Ms. Torval?
I'm not sure how the policy is stated. I don't know if Mr. Bradley can speak to that.
Sorry, Mayor and Council, I can't speak to the policy per se. What I can say, though, is that if we start deferring these carts 2 years at a time, or 2 at a time over the years, we're going to roll into the next set of replacement for the golf carts down there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, the motion on the floor is to remove line 47. That's the golf cart replacement of replacing the 2008, wow, golf cart fleet over 2 years. It is 8 o'clock. Call the question first. All in favor? Oh, to remove it. Jeez. Okay, it is totally 8 o'clock. Okay. I even said it was to remove it, right? Okay, all in favor to remove it from the budget? Okay, opposed? Motion is defeated. Councilor Noxena voted in favor to remove. All other councilors voted in favor to keep. I will need a motion to continue the budget meeting past 8 p.m. Councilor Noxena.
Given that we have 3 items left, I'm motioning that we extend our meeting to finish what's on our agenda.
Okay, seconder, Councilor Dussault. Discussion. Make comment. I will not be supporting this motion on the floor. I understand there's 3 items, 4 items, whatever it is. Sometimes that carries on. Again, we're talking numbers and budget, so I will not support the motion on the floor. Any more discussion? Councilor Norbury.
Thanks, Mayor Kakalka. We got 3 more. Let's just finish it up.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Julik and Mayor Kakalka are opposed to continue after 8 p.m. All right, as we were outvoted because it was carried, moving on. Now you will see the discussion get closer, the gaps, just so you're aware.
We better have
Won't be much debate, so if you're going to debate, make sure your point's known. Okay, moving on to line 48, purchase a wheel balancer to mount tires on DTR vehicles. Discussion comments, I'm going first. Ms. Torval, I believe the district used to own one. Am I incorrect?
I am not certain of that, Mr. Mayor Kirkoka. I will ask Mr. Bradley if he is aware.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware that we used to have a wheel balancer, so we haven't had one since I've been here.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. Councillor Julik, then Councillor Noxena.
I'm wondering if we have staff that know how to run it and if we have a space to put it.
Ms. Torval.
Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, we do have staff that know how to run a wheel balancer, and we do have space for it.
Thank you. Councillor Noxena.
Thank you. I'm wondering how many tires per year approximately do we balance, and what's the life expectancy of a wheel balancer?
Ms. Torval.
Mr. Bradley?
Rough number for,
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would say we probably balance roughly 20-plus tires a year, and I'm not sure of the life expectancy.
sets of tires.
Okay, thank you. Follow up, you're good. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, for employee time alone of running it there and back, this pays for itself in a couple of years, much less the 5 or 10 or 15 or whatever years that's going to last. To my mind, I don't need a report. This pays for itself.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, not seeing anything. Moving on to Public Works, golf course, develop a proper wash pad for golf course equipment. Develop, okay. Any discussion, comments, council? Councillor Julik?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize where it was you were washing it. Never mind.
So I guess my only question is this to develop or build? Like, are we building it for $6,000 or, Ms. Torval? Just want to make sure. I'm sorry, because I haven't been able to follow my reports because I'm trying to go through this. So.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
My apologies.
Mayor. Mr. Bradley?
I agree.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this budget item is to build a 12 by 14 wash pad.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, moving on to community services, program/events, community center event tables. Discussion, questions? I just like to have an overview of that. Like, right now, I believe we just take the tables that we have out of the community center to use. So these are special ones or to replace some of them. And I'm sorry, because I'm trying to find my notes because I have been flipping.
It's to purchase new tables to replace some of the existing ones.
Okay, good enough for me. Any more discussion? Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. $500 a table just strikes me as really high. I mean, I get that perhaps the $60 Costco version doesn't work for our purposes here, but I don't know. It just strikes me as, are these just like super durable and they last 20 years? Or like, what are we talking about here for $500 a table?
Couldn't tell you, but sometimes, I mean, Staff will have a contingency in the budget just in case costs have gone up after they've asked for a quote. I mean, they have to be built in a certain thing due to what they're used for. We have people sitting on them, I can imagine wanting them to collapse, but staff, I mean, obviously, we're trying to replace what we have. But Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you. According to the report, they are laminated folding tables, and I can ask Mr. Bento to elaborate further.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we're looking to purchase 30 tables, okay? Those tables, the cost here includes shipping because they're big tables and heavy, so the cost is for shipping, it's high. And we also added contingents in case, the price goes up.
Follow-up, Councillor?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any more discussion in regards to that item? Okay. Complete. Question and answer period. Ms. Torval, any emailed questions?
No, there aren't any questions.
Cool. Take adjournment. Councillor Noxana,
That the March 12th, 2024 Budget Council meeting be adjourned.
seconder. Councillor Dussault, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you again, Councillor Norbury, for joining us via Zoom. Please get better. If you need anything or if your family needs anything, please reach out to myself or a councillor or a CAO. And if there's anything we can do in the